Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei becomes secret god. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. I'm feeling nervous. Through all the things I've done throughout my life, I'm feeling nervous. My palms are getting sweaty, and needless to say, I'm freaking out. I've never done this before, and I'm worrying so much about it. This should be easy, right? I've done far greater things in my life than this. This should be easy. I swallowed my throat and I walked inside, with my worries to the side. Hello everyone, my name is OP Issei, I said while trying to avoid eye contact. Their glares are staring right into my soul. I hope we all get along. I finished. There was a silence. After a while, all the girls started to squeal. What? He's so cute. I wonder if he has a girlfriend. I hope not. I want him to be mine. Hearing all the comments, the only thing I could do was scratch the back of my head and just laugh really awkwardly. I thought this was going to be nerve-wracking, but it wasn't how I expected either ways. Alright class, settle down. The sensei started motioning everyone to calm down. Do you guys have any questions for OP Issei? She asked. A hand shot up in the air. Do you have a girlfriend? I couldn't help but chuckle at her question. They all seemed like a bunch of good people. No I don't, haha. This caused more squeals. They started to fawn over him more and more. Some of the girls started looking at their reflection in a tiny mirror, and some of them started batting their eyelashes at me. What? Another hand raised up. This time it was a boy with glasses who had a question. You know this used to be a girls' school, right? He asked. Yeah. I did. Why? I said cautiously. Something about this boy started giving off some killing intents to me. So why did you transfer in it? Before I could even open my mouth, he got tackled to the ground by some girls. Realizing what just happened, the sensei just ignored it and told me to sit in the back of the class. I nodded and I walked to the back of the room. Hey, this seat is actually pretty good. Since each floor is designed for different years, I'm in the second floor, starting as a second year, and I could see a view of the school at a very amazing angle. I stared outside the window and I noticed that the first years were running. They were doing a relay race and I couldn't help but watch as I started to gaze off, not aware of my surroundings. That didn't last long. I felt a shiver creep upon my spine as a certain red-haired girl walked by my class, with her companion by her side. Devils, huh? Even though I'm not one to hate devils, they just want me dead. I'm too much of a threat for them, but hey, it's my job. I can't do anything about it. Even though it's been quite a while since I've resurfaced, I've thought about us. The factions. Michael, Azazel and Surzex are already thinking of forming an alliance, and I can't say that I'm not glad. After my disappearance from the Great War, an alliance was needed. Throughout my disappearance, I was praying that this should happen. I'm also quite surprised to see that the world is still spinning after some have pegged me dead. Most of you might be thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Who is he? If you found out and is questioning if it really is me, yes, I am him. If you haven't found out yet, I am feared by quite a lot of people, but they shouldn't. I am pretty down to earth. But with that said, who am I? I am none other than God. Yes, you might be thinking what? How is it possible? I thought you were dead? Could such a thing be actually true? Such a thing could be true, though it isn't like how you thought it is. While most consider me dead, the only truth to that is, we can't really die, Percy. Sure, we disappear, but our souls live on. And no, I'm not saying this because I'm the leader of heaven. I say this because it's true. Now I'm not saying for everyone. I'm only saying this for people like us. Angels, devils, and fallen angels. If you're human, tough luck. Though you will have fun in heaven. Anyways, when I died, the only thing that changed is my powers. While I still have most of my power, it isn't as much as it is, but it is still quite powerful. Things are rambling on my mind when I suddenly get called by the sensei. OP Issei? I regained my composure as fast as I could, and I tried to sound like I was paying attention. Yes. I said cautiously. I asked, What year did San Francisco form a peace treaty with Japan? She asked. Crap. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're God. You created the world. You should know this. Keep in mind I created it, not constituted every single of them. I decided to just guess on this one. There was nothing I could do. I am a high school student after all. 1952. That is correct, she said with quite the shocked face. Who knew that my guess was actually right? With that said, the bell rang and school was finally over. I grabbed my bag and started to put my things inside it, when suddenly the boy from earlier came up to my desk, only with his friend. Issei. The boy with glasses who had asked him the question started to pull something out of his bag. Do you by any chance watch Pawn? His friend asked. I just stared at them. What kind of person did they peg me down to be? A pervert. While I love my share of BRSTS and other body parts, I am not one to be at home, watching pornos all the time. No I don't, was the only thing I could say, when suddenly a group of girls grabbed my arm and tugged me away from those two. You, Matsuda, Motohama, Issei-san isn't a pervert like you two. Don't try and ruin him, a girl exclaimed. Yeah. Leave him alone, perverts, another one yells out. Huh, they must be quite known around the school if the girls knew who they were, but I don't think it's a good reputation those two uphold. I somehow managed to move away from the scene, and was now walking to my house. I noticed that there was someone that was following me, but I decided to just leave it. If this was an ambush I would have known from their killing intent, but her aura was nothing but awareness. I brushed off the feeling and was finally home. Not bad to end the day off. I'm home. Ah, welcome back, master, a voice replied. How many times have I told you? You really don't have to call me that. I replied sternly. Ah, haha, sorry Issei-sama. Much better. I walked in the kitchen, only to smell what we were having for dinner tonight. The smell was quite fragrant, causing me to open my mouth. Michael, what are we eating? I asked excitedly. We are having pot roast. My mouth dropped. Pot roast? Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, the person cooking right now is none other than one of my archangels. Michael. Ever since I died, he has taken over heaven as a replacement for me. Someone has to watch over the system while I'm down here. So, how's everything in heaven if I may ask, Michael? I said nonchalantly. Well, the system still works and fully functioning after you died, but everything else is fine, he replied. Ah, that's good. So, Issei-sama, how's school? Well, nothing out of the ordinary, but you are right, it is consumed by devils or rather run by it. Oh, well, that shouldn't be a problem to you. The peace treaty will take toll soon. We will have another meeting before it happens though. So anything you plan to do, tone it down, he said suggestingly. I couldn't help but scratch my head. What, new? I said. Issei-sama. Fine, it's not like I was gonna do anything anyways. With that conversation over, we munched down on our very delicious pot roast. After dinner was over, Michael has sent his goodbye as he could only spend a few hours with me. He has a whole faction to lead. With him gone, I walked to my room and slept. He might seem normal, but he isn't, a short white-haired girl reported to her master. Era? I can't sense anything in him. He seems quite normal to me, a black-haired beauty replied. We may not know it yet, but please keep an eye on him, Kaneko, her red-haired master stated. Yes, Bucho. The red-haired looked outside the window, drowning in her thoughts. Just who are you, Hayudu Issei? Dreams. To humans, they're merely nothing but hopes and fantasies. It's an escape from the real world, turning themselves into greater beings. They dream about having a job or getting a girlfriend or having a greater life, but only to forget about it the next day, leaving them to dream about much greater things the next night. But for me, dreams esike. I can't even call my dreams dreams. They're nothing but visions of what's about to come. Whether be it good or bad, it's going to happen. So, the so-called dream I'm having right now is more like a nightmare. A destructive being I have sealed quite a long time ago is finding its way back into the world. Wait, what? I sealed that being for good. How is this happening? My mind's rambling on when an eerie voice suddenly whispers in my dream. Remember. I shudder to the fact that that exact being I've sealed quite a while ago will come and reign upon the world again. Suddenly, the scene changes. It's another destructive being that I haven't seen for a while. It was one of the ones that I've sealed in a sacred gear. That certain being is soaring through the air when it suddenly nosedives into the underworld. What could that even mean? My visions are not to be taken literal sometimes. They could represent many things and many possibilities. It changes once again, back to where that eerie voice has spoken to me. This time, I was actually in my vision. I could freely roam wherever I was, but I decided to investigate rather than to roam. To my surprise, it was absolutely nothing, until the destructive being comes up out of nowhere and swallows me whole. I stood up from my bed and shook my head. What was all that? What did I just witness? I rubbed the sleep off of my eyes and glanced at the clock. 7. Michael is currently at heaven, maintaining it, and school didn't start till 8 o'clock, and with so many thoughts rambling my mind, I highly doubt I could go back to sleep. I might as well get ready. I stood up from my bed and walked over to the shower. I turned on the hot water, and I started to recall the dream I just had. No, it wasn't a dream, it was a living nightmare. I sealed it quite a long time ago, and how is it coming back? I mentally slapped myself as I finished drowning in my thoughts. I turned off the shower and got dressed, ready for school. I was headed to my school since I decided to wait there instead. On my route to school, I felt that same presence I had before come upon me once again. This feels quite nostalgic actually. That's when I decided that this probably won't change and it's best to deal with it now, so I stopped my walking pace and turned around. There was nobody there, of course, but I could feel the presence as if someone was breathing behind my neck. Might as well come out, I don't bite, I declared. That was when a short white-haired girl came out of the trees and was now about 4 feet away from me. Staring at the girl before me, I decided to speak up. I've noticed you've been following me for quite a while, I said while trying not to sound like a bad guy. It's alright, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, I finished off while raising both my hands in the air, as if I had admitted defeat. She finally decided to speak up and ask, "You are not human." I thought I was quite careful when it comes showing off my aura, but I noticed she isn't quite normal herself. I could say the same to you. Her eyes widen at my sudden statement. How do you know? I thought it was pretty obvious that I knew. I mean, she knows I'm not human. Well, you did say I'm not human, and I have quite a sense to these things. I replied. Would you mind answering a few questions we have for you? She said bluntly. I had nothing else to do, but hey, why not? Sure, lead the way. The white-haired girl took over and started to lead me to the old schoolhouse. I didn't even know that we had an old schoolhouse. This is my second day after all. Once we were inside, we went up 2 flights of stairs till we were suddenly outside a door. This must be the main room. I heard some voices inside, but they suddenly stopped when the white-haired girl pushed open the door and saw me. Most of them were quite shocked to the brave move the girl has decided to do, and I couldn't help but to just put on a smile. So this is where the devils of the school are hiding, though it doesn't quite matter to me. Even though the peace treaty hasn't been signed yet, I've already put our differences aside. Quite shocking, huh? I can't believe it myself. The room stayed quiet for quite a while when what appears to be her master suddenly spoke up. "KK Kaneko, what have you done?" she asked with quite the tremble in her voice. Before the girl could reply, I decided to ease their worries but putting both my hands in the air, gesturing that I wasn't going to do anything. You don't have to be afraid of me, I'm not who you think I am, I'm actually pretty down to earth if you get to know me, I said while flashing them a comforting smile. I could see their worries have eased a little bit, but it was still there. You are OP Issei, correct? The red-haired beauty asked. Yes, I am, though I'm questioning how you know that. You've made quite a name for yourself, Issei-kun, considering that the second-year girls want to date you, said a voice that clearly wasn't from the red-haired beauty. This time it was from a boy who seemed to have quite the appearance. He too also flashed a warm smile. I'm not gonna lie, but I am quite surprised. Oh, Era, even some of the third years have heard about you, the red-haired beauty's companion said while passing out some tea. Thank you. I sat down and took a sip of her tea. My eyes bulged. This is some dim and good tea. This is quite the tea you've prepared. I complimented. She smiled and blushed. Anyways, the red-haired beauty has once again started to speak. Just who are you, OP Issei? Considering that these are devils I'm speaking to, should I show them my true form? No, they would probably freak out, but I did assure them that I wasn't someone who would try and do anything. I should just show them who I truly am. I shook my head. This is way too much information for them to take in. I should just wait until the right timing comes. So instead of revealing my actual form, I toned it down a bit. My sleek, white wings popped out of my back and spread as if they were stretching. My halo appeared and stood upon my head. And with that I've revealed who I truly am. Okay, maybe half of who I truly am. Their eyes widen. I could tell that they didn't expect something like this. How is it possible that an angel could walk over to a devil's territory? The red-haired girl had asked. Oh crap. I got through that because I'm a powerful being. Barriers are nothing to me. I was thinking of a well-thought-out explanation when I realized how I got here. That girl over there, I said while pointing to the white-haired girl, she led me here. Doesn't that mean I'm invited? Thinking about it for a while, it does seem to make sense. I'm just hoping that something like that could actually be true. Well, I guess so, considering the fact that you are standing in front of us, she had said. I could sense her worries. Devils and angels do get into conflicts with each other quite a lot. Don't worry, I announced while giving off a comforting smile. I have no intentions to fight. I have thought about the situation the three factions currently uphold, and I decided to go help out as much as I could. I might have overdone that last statement, as the two girls started to give off a slight blush. Well, let's continue this conversation some other time, shall we? As the bell rang, indicating that we should walk to our homeroom. As I was headed out the door, a voice had called out my name, causing me to turn around. Wait, OP Issei. The red-haired girl has started to approach me as she extended out her arm. Let's get along, shall we? Yeah, let's. I had stated before taking her extended hand and kissing it. My sudden actions may seem a bit too much as for once again, she had given off a slight blush. After that, we all had exited the club room, going to our designated classes. I walked into class only to be squealed at by a bunch of girls. I even heard there was a fan club around the school that was specifically made for me. I couldn't help but to chuckle at that thought. I took my seat in the back when the sensei showed, motioning the other students to sit down, as class was about to start. Okay guys, I know it's only been a week since our new student OP Issei has arrived, but we have another student, she announced as she motioned to the new student outside the door to come walk inside. While the reactions of the boys were cheering and whistling as this new student walked by, my reaction was quite different. My jaw hit my desk. I started to rub my eyes, thinking that this was an illusion or a dream, but it's not. Hello, the girl said while giving a cute smile. My name is Gabriel, let's have a good year. Hello, the girl said while giving a cute smile. My name is Gabriel, let's have a good year. My jaw dropped. Well, one of my archangels is literally in my class. Why would she come here? I don't want heaven to find out that I'm back, not quite yet. As she was finished with her introduction, she was already getting swarmed by the other people in the class. I took this time to hide behind my book, hoping she doesn't notice me. I turned off my angelic aura so she wouldn't notice I'm an angel, so I think I should be fine, as long as the sensei doesn't sit her next to me. Gabrielson, you could sit over there in the back, right next to OP Issei, the sensei announced. Phew, I thought she said sit next to Hyo. Huh. What? Why me? No, please don't. God, please help me. Wait, I'm God, what am I saying? I tried to stay unnoticed by Gabriel as I literally shoved my nose into my book. Once the class started, I started to lift my head, glancing over to my right side, hoping that Gabriel is doing her work and not paying attention to her surroundings. With just my luck, she wasn't. She was completely sucked into the work we were doing, so I let my guard down and started to pay attention to the lesson. I glanced at her again, thinking about one thing. I could see why she's the most beautiful girl in heaven. She is quite the beauty. I noticed that I was staring her for quite too long, when she suddenly looked towards my side and gave off a smile. Trembling with surprise for only a split second, I gathered myself and tried to make it look like I wasn't looking at her. "You're OP Issei, correct?" she asked. I was quite surprised. "I'm just hoping that Michael hasn't leaked out that their god is alive, or else I'll destroy heaven myself." "No, not really." Yes. "Wow. The fan club is right." Her face started to bright up with a red shade as she fixed her hair and extended her arm. "You're really cute." "I'm Gabriel." All my worries went away. She doesn't know who I am, that's not good. I stuck out my arm and did the same thing I had done to Rias. I lifted her palm and kissed it, once again proving my sudden actions are too bold, as she gave a 50 shades of red. This is weird, I did this to Rias, but why am I getting flustered? I'll just leave it at that. The class went on and I started to drone out some of the lessons we were learning as I thought about the so-called dream I had the other night. I just can't let that be. I shook my head focused on something else, when the sweet-sounding bell has took its toll and rang, indicating that school was over. I packed up my stuff and was headed out, only to be disrupted by Gabriel. "OP Issei." She ran up to me and she started playing with her fingers. I could tell she's meaning to ask something, but what? "If you don't have any plans," she stuttered, "would you mind going out to eat? With me?" she asked while bowing. I was about to say yes, but I had realized at the last second that I had told Rias that I was going to stop by the clubhouse after school had ended. Now wanting to reject her, I gave her a reassuring smile and had told her that I had some plans today. "What plans?" she asked. Sigh, "I can't say I'm meeting with Devils cause she'll freak out. I have to, stop by the pharmacy to, get my mom some medicine." "Yeah." I lied. With a rejected frown, she blandly replied, "Oh, all right." Before she left, I caught onto her hand. "Don't worry, maybe some other time," I reassured while giving off a warm smile, causing her to blush for the third time today. "Okay." And with that, she ran away, giggling. I made my way over to the old clubhouse, only to be greeted by a group I don't know. I felt so out of place considering I was the only angel here, but they do seem like nice people. Issei, Rias had greeted once I walked in the room. "This is the school president and my best friend Sona Citri," she introduced. "I've heard many things about you, OP Issei. Your fan club is certainly something else." I chuckled. Sorry. "This is my queen, Tsubaki, and the rest of my peerage," she said as she motioned her hand, indicating her peerage. Suddenly, a boy with blonde hair, a little darker than Rias Knight, came up and center. Saji, I took up 4 pawns. How many did you take up?" he asked with quite the confidence. "Saji," Sona started. "Be careful what you say, he's more powerful than you know," Sona stated as she tried to hide her embarrassment. "What do you mean, Kaicho? Does he not know about sacred gears?" he asked. Redirecting his attention back to me, he started to explain what sacred gears are. "Oh, trust me, I know what they are. My sacred gear is," he motioned his left hand as a black gauntlet appared on his hand. "That's sacred gear. I haven't seen the being I sealed in there quite a long time. It's good to see old friends." "Vritra," he announced out loud. The sacred gear started to glow. "Why, that guy over there. Did Vritra just talk?" Saji said as he was quite surprised. Ignoring Saji's outburst, Sona asked, "What about him, Vritra?" "He's not who you think he is." My eyes bulged. "Vritra, shut your trap. Don't you dare say it. It's been a while, Cam." Before he could continue and before anyone noticed, I lifted my index finger and pointed at Saji's sacred gear, causing it to disengage. "What happened?" "Vritra?" Saji started to motion his arm again, trying to bring Vritra out. "It's no use, I put him to sleep for an hour, and maybe altered his memory, but I can't tell him that." "Well, that was dash. Something else," Rias declared, still trying to grasp what just happened. I just sighed. That was quite the close call. "I wonder what Vritra was talking about?" Rias questioned. I couldn't help but to cough at that statement. "Anyways," I started to say before they find out who I truly am, not trying to be rude, Sona Kaishu, "but what's your business here?" I asked humbly. "Well," she started, "it came up to our attention that some fallen angels are on the move. To say in close detail, they found out about the peace treaty, and they're opposing to it. Is it Azazel that's opposing it? I asked. No, it seems that someone has ignored Azazel. Much to his cause, Azazel himself does not know about the recent skirmishes the fallen angels are causing, so we've gotten a report that something big is happening tonight, and it's quite concerning. This caught the attention of both VsPer as well as Sonas. Do you have any idea what they're planning to do? Kiba had asked. I'm starting to know everyone's names and I'm quite glad. They're preparing to take the sacred gear Twilight healing. I started to cough even more. Seriously, am I hearing everyone correctly today? I am sorry, but did you say Twilight healing? I asked cautiously. Yes, and the reason why they want it because it could not only heal angels anymore, but fallen angels and devils as well. Sona explained more thoroughly. I could see why they would want something like that, but Twilight healing could heal devils and fallen angels now too? That's certainly the surprise. I haven't seen a healing sacred gear with such abilities. So, what do we do? Aquino asked. The only thing we can do. Sona started to look around the whole clubroom as if she was inspecting something. With this whole team, we could stop what they're planning. Sona finished off with a confident smile. Alright, so that's the plan. Everyone meet up at the church tonight, at 9 p.m., Ria stated. With those words in mind, I exited out the clubroom and was headed home, since we had about another 4 hours till we needed to meet up at our designated place. I was en route to my house when suddenly, I got pushed down to the floor by something at quite the fast speed. Ah! I groaned as I picked myself up and scratched my head. I looked in front of me trying to find out what I'd bump into, when all I saw was a cute brunette girl, with her luggage open and her clothes all over the floor. Seeing her struggle, I decided to help her up and started to put her clothes back inside her luggage. I'm so sorry, she exclaimed. It's no need, I wasn't paying attention to where I was heading, I said, while giving off my signature smile. My name's Ireina, she said while giving a slight blush. My name's OP Issei, nice to meet you. I had packed the last pair of clothes back into her luggage, so I handed it back to her. Oh, thanks. Don't mention it, I replied. By the way, what's with the rush? Heading somewhere? I asked. I was appointed to a new church, and they said that it was in this town here, she said while making hand gestures that indicated this area. I was on my way there, but I don't know where it is, and I started to panic since I don't know anyone here, so I started to run, as a last resort to find the place. I see, well if you don't mind I could show you where. It is, I've only moved recently as well but I know where the church is. Would you really? She bursted out. Yeah don't worry. Thank you, OP Issei. She started to bow in front of me, causing a lot of people to wonder what we were doing. Hey, pick your head up, it's no problem really, and just call me Issei if you want, no need for Hayadu, I had said while we started to walk into the direction of the church. She picked up her head and started walking with the pace I had started. On the way there, we started talking about quite a few things. Turns out she's a nun from her church, and that's kinda cute. Well, here it is, I said, wishing that I could have talked to her more. It's sad really, I feel like we sort of hit it off. Oh, she gloomily replied. Will I ever get to see you again, Of course. I'd like that as well. But I'll see you around, Aikuen. And with that, she waved her hand and went inside the church. That was quite a long walk to be honest. I was now en route, once again, back to my house, as I had to pick a bone with a certain Archangel. Once I get home, I placed my hand on my table, and a yellow magic circle appeared in the middle of my table. An illusion of Michael had appeared. Oh, hey Ahuma, how's it going down there? Michael asked with a smile. Oh, how's it going down there, me Michael, what were you thinking sending Gabriel down here? I exclaimed sternly. Is she in your class as Isama? Yes. Oh, you toned down your aura, right? Of course, I don't want her to find out that I'm her missing god. I know that, but you know how her dream has always been to visit and study on Earth. Yeah. I know, it's just. You could have told me you know. I'm sorry, Isama. Things have been quite hectic up here in HQ. I can't blame you for that, but I have a quick question, Michael. Yes. What's been going on with the fallen angels? There's a skirmish that I'm going to attend to right now. Oh, you have heard about that as well? Yeah, we're visiting the church in about a few minutes. What do you know about it? Not much, just that it's not Azazel who's behind it. That's all I know, Azasama. Thanks, Michael. I glanced at the clock. 35. All right, Michael, it's almost time. I'll report back to you once I come back. I stated as I waved my hand and Michael's illusion disappeared. I started up a teleport circle and with a bright glow, I was at the church in mere seconds. Everyone was here really early, much more earlier than what everyone planned to. Why is everyone so early? I asked with the turn-up of people that were already here. Sona and her peerage were here and so was Rias and her peerage. We noticed some movement so we got here earlier than expected, Sona explained. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. She looked at Rias and said, Rias, take your peerage, head to the forest and start putting magical barriers around the church. With what we're about to do, it's best if we don't get civilians involved in this. Sona looks at her peerage and then says, you guys go help them out as well. If my estimates are correct, we only need Saji and Issei for this. She had finished while flashing me and Saji a smile. Everyone replied with a simple yes and go to work. Me and Saji snuck around the church through the bushes when we suddenly heard some screaming inside the church. What was that? Saji said surprisingly. No time to waste, let's go. I started to run right back around the main entrance of the church and I kicked the door open. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Okay, now what the hell is that? Saji exclaimed. It's a device that gets rid of a person's sacred gear from their body. I explained. I didn't want to give him an explanation that would scar him. I've seen what this device does. Staring into the device more longingly, I noticed there was a girl strapped on the device. Oh no, please no. I started to shiver, thinking why, out of all people, why her? Me and Saji started to walk a little closer when suddenly black feathers started to fall from our midst. We looked up and noticed a bulky figure with black wings, looking at us with hate. So, you decided to drop by, huh? We were expecting you to come, he said with a husky voice. He readied his arm as a light spear formed within his grasp. Normally, this would be a problem if I was a devil, but I'm not. Saji on the other hand though brought out Vritra and tried to put an absorption line on the bulky figure, only for it to be but cut off. He threw his spear towards me and Saji, who was bracing himself for the impact. I extended my arm, and the light spear's shape disappeared once it reached my palm. The bulky man widened his eyes by the sudden actions I had pulled. Who are you? The bulky man asked as he formed another light spear and threw it down to me and see, only for it to be, once again, disappear once it reached my grasp. This time, it was my turn to attack. I summoned my sword. It was a sleek, long katana with what appears to be a white cloth wrapped around the hilt, almost midway from the body of the katana. I had picked up this sword during my fight with a certain god of calamity. I jumped up, reached his height, and slashed him with my sword, causing him to fall down on the floor pretty hard. He coughed out blood as his chest had a huge slash. I grabbed my sword and put it towards his neck, suggesting that he should surrender. Huh? Surrender? My job's done. Go ahead and kill me already. I have no use in life anymore, he announced. Me being the forgiving person I am, let go of his grasp only for him to caught me off guard and kick me on the floor. Fool, we knew that you were different, and that happens to be your own weakness. You are Ka-Dash. His words stopped as a sword pierced his chest. I could only look in complete shock as to what had happened. It was Saji who picked up my sword from the floor and stabbed the bulky figure to death. I was about to confront Saji when the girl from the device started to scream in pain. Another figure appeared from behind the device and had a glowing orb within her fingertips. Her eyes popped out as she exclaimed with excitement, "Yes, I did it. Twilight healing is mine." No. You fool. Do you know what happens when you remove a sacred gear from a human? I exclaimed while on the brink of tears. Ireina, the innocent girl I had met not long ago, is dead because of her. This fallen angel girl. I was enraged. She had such a life to live, and now she's dead. Because of me. If I hadn't shown her the church, What would have happened? Would she have lived? I was thinking about all the things we could have done, when suddenly she opened her eyes. From the way she was looking, she was quite weak. Her body could give out any minute. She then turned her head to me and spoke. Issei-kun. I am glad to have met someone like you. It was then her eyes gave out and closed shut. Tears were flowing out of my eyes. Such an innocent girl doesn't deserve to die. She shouldn't. It was then I decided to take matters to my own hand. I had urged Saji to give me back my sword and I was going to confront this fallen angel beach. He passed me my sword, and once I held a grip of it, I ran towards her, Godspeed. She was scared. Her knees started to buckle, rethinking that this might have been a mistake. She lifted her palm and started to summon light spears. Stay away, she screeched. It was useless. I took the spear head-on and swung my sword, causing the light energy to part ways and destroy the surrounding around me. I got up to her face and held my sword close to her neck. She was trying to struggle free, but I held a grip on her that suppressed her movements. You don't know who you're messing with, I said coldly. Her eyes were giving off signals that she was more than frightened. Tell me, I began to say, give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you. It's the least you could do, right? After all, you took that poor, innocent girl's live over there. Now, what do you say? I yelled out. Rage came upon my body, and I was practically shouting my lungs off. It wasn't my fault, she said shakily as she was trembling really hard. I was just following orders. From who? I asked sternly. From Kuoh. I looked at the fear in her eyes. As much as I wanted to let release my anger, there's no point in taking it out on this girl. She's telling the truth. I sighed. I really am forgiving. All right, I trust you. I could see the look in your eyes that you're quite telling the truth. I let go of my grip and she sat down, in shock, rethinking about what happened. I sat down next to her and started to reason with her. You am all right? I asked, trying to comfort the fallen angel next to me. She was still shaking with fear. I don't know. She was recalling all of her actions and she realized this has been a mistake. I'm sorry, she whispered while she herself was on the brink of tears. It's all right, I sighed. If you're truly sorry, would you mind giving back Twilight healing? Her eyes widened by my suggestion. But Gabriel will kill me if I do, she said while shuddering and weighing her options. Don't worry, I said as I started to stare at her eyes. I can assure your safety. She started to blush. She silently nodded and handed me Twilight healing. I got up on the device and unhooked Ireina. I looked at her and she's dead. What could I do? I don't want her to die. Thinking about it for a while, an idea popped up in my head. I carried Ireina on my back and was headed out when I heard a voice calling for me. She asked. What's your name? Hayadu Issei. Call me Issei-kun, though, I said while giving off my signature smile. I turned around once again and left the fallen angel girl, whose name I didn't get, to wonder if she will ever see me again. Once I was outside, I noticed that everyone was here. Sona's peerage and Ria's peerage. Their eyes widened at the girl whom I'm carrying on my back. What happened to her? Rias asked. She's the Twilight healing user. They successfully took out Twilight healing from her, I said as I opened up my palm and a green orb was seen, floating atop of it. By the way, Sona, I started, how do you know that the skirmish that happened inside the church was enough for just me and Saji? I asked, remembering what she had told me and Saji before we walked inside the church. Let's just say, it was a sudden instinct, she said as she gave me a wink. I slightly blushed, thinking that she may know who I truly am. Well, there's no time to waste, I'll be on my way, I said as I started up a magic circle in an attempt to go home. Before the eye stepped in, Rias had asked me, what are you going to do with her? She asked, mentioning the girl I was carrying. I let out a smile and said, you'll see. And with a bright flash, I was gone. Wait, Kaicho, Saji asked, is Hayadu an angel? Sigh. See, you are still quite new to everything, so everything will make sense eventually. Once I was home, I placed my palm on the table once again, summoning Michael in an illusion form. Issei-sama? Do you need something? Michael had asked. Yeah, Michael, is there anyone at HQ right now? I asked, making sure no one was there, for I don't want anyone to see my sudden appearance in heaven. No, everyone had left, but why? Good, mind teleporting me there? Yeah, sure. Michael's illusion faded, and before he could get a chance to teleport me to heaven, I quickly grabbed Ireina and put her on my back again. Don't worry, Ireina, you'll be living life once more. Once again, with a bright flash, I was gone, only this time I was in heaven. When the light faded, I was at a place where I haven't been in the longest. There was a fountain in the middle of the room, and there were bookshelves filled with books everywhere. There was a long discussion table not too far from where I was standing, and a big screen that shows the activities of everything that's been going on in our worlds. Looks like how you left it, huh? A voice emerged from the corner of the room. Yeah, thanks for keeping it this way, Michael. He smiled. No problem, Iama. So what's the emergency dash? He stopped when he saw the girl that was hung over my shoulders. Yeah, I said gloomily. She's a nun that I'd met before my mission at the church. How did she die? I pulled out the green orb that had a ring in the middle of it. His eyes widened, for he knew how dangerous sacred gear removals are. So, your plan is to reincarnate her into an angel? He asked as he inspected the girl's body, thinking if she could handle the power of being an angel. Is it too much? I asked with concern. No, it seems she could handle it, he said with a reassuring smile. That's a relief. I placed Ireina in the middle of me and Michael as we started to chant an incantation of reincarnation. As this soul walk along the line we call life and death. Each life and death can be renewed. Matters not for its life, but its worth and value. I hereby ask you to stand and serve me, your Lord and your God, your Savior. A bright light surrounded her body, and her body started to raise from the ground. Negative energy were getting removed from her body, and at the same time, a purified soul came in and flew inside her body. Taking this chance, I threw in the sacred gear, hoping that her body would accept it. The reincarnation was about to be complete when suddenly a familiar voice was heard as the door opened. Michael-sama, here are the reports of the recent fallen in dash. She stopped as she looked at me and Michael. Issei? She exclaimed with her eyes quite widened. This is going to be a rough explanation. Issei? Exclaimed out a voice that was vaguely familiar, as if I had just heard it earlier today. The reincarnation had suddenly stopped as my concentration flew out the window, and suddenly turned around to a person who saw me in this state. Oh God, she was the last person I wanted to see me like this. It was Gabriel. She was turning in reports to the recent fallen angel attack that had happened tonight as well. Of course I was a part of it, but I wonder if they have any records of me in that report. The body of the unconscious brunette girl suddenly dropped to the floor very slowly, and a small green orb had rushed out of her body, lifted into the air, and zoomed off into nothingness. What just happened? Asked Gabriel, who was trying to get a grasp of everything that had just happened. And Issei, who are you? I bit my tongue, hodling back a curse. I didn't want to say anything about my existence, but I might as well. Before I could speak, Michael spoke up and said, Gabriel, you are aware that God is dead, right? She looked on the floor with depression and replied with a soft yes. The death of myself, or actually the disappearance of myself, took a toll on her more than it do to any other seraph. She was more faithful than the others, if that was even possible. Michael-sama, why do you bring up God at a time like this? She asked, looking at the unconscious brunette girl that was lying in between them. And also, Michael-sama, I only know 2 seraphs that could perform reincarnation. You and G-. She stopped her trace of thought as if she had realized something great. Her face completely took a left turn as her face was in a state of shock and happiness. Her knees buckled and small tears were coming out of her eyes. I couldn't help but to walk over and give her a warm embrace. Yes, I'm not dead, Gabriel. It's good to see you as well, I said while I gave her a warm smile. She started to feel hot on the inside. Not because of the great news that she had just found out, but that God was a gorgeous-looking teenager. Realizing this, a warm feeling had crept up to her face, and she was now red. I let go of my embrace and turned around to Michael as our problems kept on stacking on and on. Michael, Where did the Twilight healing go? I asked. You should know better than anyone else, Sama. You did invent sacred gears. So you mean it transferred hosts? I asked in confusion. Though not all sacred gears bear mythical creatures, you gave it in their code to whenever the host dies, it transfers to a different host. He reminded me. I forgot everything about sacred gear codes. I haven't thought about that in years. So where did you think it went? A certain blonde girl sneezes. A compatible host, I may presume. But forget about that, Issei-sama. This girl cannot live without any sort of power extension. Angel divinity cannot be handled well unless you are a seraph. That much was true. No angel could ever withstand that much power, or they will simply exert their power usage and die. I solved this problem by giving every angel a certain item to keep, so they may exert their angel divinity in them, whether be it weapons or armor. I was thinking about something I could give Ireina, but I think she actually might be useful in battle. Michael, whatever happened to the Excalibur? I asked, remembering what had happened about a few years ago during the Excalibur project. Well, currently there's a priest that's trying to recombine all of the Excalibur to make one powerful Excalibur, he stated. Alright, just give me his name and I'll pay him a visit, I said as I started to walk towards the monitors that shows activities throughout our realms. Wait, Sama, why can't you send yourself back in time and grab the Excalibur? It's like killing two birds with one stone. We stop them from creating a powerful weapon and it benefits us by helping the dying girl over there. Michael suggested. Wow, since when was Michael a thinker? That's such a genius plan. Wow, I'm impressed, Michael. I didn't know you were that much of a thinker, I praised. He just gave me a smile and walked towards Gabriel. Gabriel, you know how he is. Would you accompany him and make sure he doesn't alter the past? That would be bad on our part. Gabriel blushed because she was going to be with God on a mission. Blown. Sure. I walked over to Gabriel and held her hand. She started to blush again with my action. I turned to her and gave her a smile. Ready? She nodded, and with a bright flash, we were sent back in time. Did I mention how I hate traveling back in time? Especially in the current condition I'm in. We were sent back in time in a place where it was snowing. Gabriel landed on the snow and I face-planted on a wall. That was the last thing I remembered until my eyes gave in. "Grandma," said a voice faintly. I feel like the voice is so close, yet so far away. Issei-sama. There it is again. Who is that? Issei-sama, said the voice one more time till I shot up from my state. Issei-sama. Gabriel said as she hugged me. How long was I out? It's been 30 minutes, I thought you died, she said softly. I blushed at her concern. Don't worry, I'm not gonna die. I looked at her with an assuring smile as I wiped the tears from her cheeks. Is it just me, or does she like me? I'm so dense. Anyways, let's go. We don't want anyone seeing us. It may alter an event in the future, I said as I stood up and started to walk towards the facility that wasn't very far from where we were. Gabriel had caught up to my walking pace and asked, Hey, why did you faint? Aren't you powerful enough to handle that? Well, you see, I lost some of my power, so I'm not strong as I used to be, but I am still exceptionally stronger than most species, and by the way, no need for honorifics, he is just fine. No, that's too much. Cannot simply call my God in such a way. He stopped as she cuffed her fist and pouted in the most cutest way. Gabriel, I said, turning around, putting my hands on her shoulders, don't worry about it. I'm a teenager just like you are, or at least I look like one. No need for honorifics, it's weird. She started to blush and she looked down on the floor with a shy expression. Okay, Tin, she whispered softly. Hearing that I started to blush myself, I shook my head and said, anyways, let's go. We walked towards the facility and tried to open the back door. Within 10 minutes, we still couldn't get the door opened, so we just blew it, hoping that nobody heard the explosion that we had just caused. We walked down the corridor, and throughout my time here, these people are sickening. I overheard them saying that this test was for me, saying that whoever could hold Excalibur, they would be serving under me and helping out heaven. That was a complete lie, as when a kid they had experiment on failed, they killed them, deciding there was no use for the child anymore. I tried to hold back my anger as I was infuriated with these people who are so-called helping out God. Seeing my anger swell up inside me, Gabriel held my hand and just smiled as if she knew what I was thinking. As a result, I squeezed her hand a little bit, trying to release my anger and trying not to hurt her at the same time. We finally stumbled upon a room that seemed to be the main control point in this so-called project. We didn't want to be spotted, so we're trying to look inside and see how many people were in there. Okay, there's 2 people outside standing guard, and I can't say how much is inside. But I do feel a strong presence. Somewhat unnatural. Gabriel reported as we scouted the area. Let's stop this horrible project. I can't stand this. Many innocent children dying, in hope for helping out me. Their God. I suggested as I held back my tears. She nodded, and with that, we came with a frontal assault. Gabriel summoned light spears with her palm and threw it at the door that was being guarded by 2 people. All that was left was a gigantic hole in the wall. We finally saw how many people were inside, and there was at least about 30 scientists and a couple of priests that were helping out with the process. I couldn't help but be disgusted. I know we said we were trying to lay low because if we happened to do something big, it would alter its outcomes. But I can't help it. I'm so infuriated. I summoned my sword as I ran towards the room with Godspeed. I had a grasp on my cloth-covered hilt, and I swung my sword with great immense power, causing the room to break down. We were being attacked by supernatural creatures. Kill all the children and get rid of the evidence, said one person who had picked up his walkie-talkie and just alerted all of the people working in this facility. I ran towards that person and held him up by the collar with one hand. Where's are the Excaliburs? I asked, anger taking over my voice. The guy that I held was truly terrified. I looked like a monster right about now, and I couldn't blame him. Something just came over my body and my killing intent bursted through the roof. I don't know, he lied. I held my sword up to his neck and asked again. Let me restate that, you tell me where it is and I'll let you live. Seem fair? Actually, I'm not sure if that is fair, considering you took a lot of innocent little lives from these children, telling them that they are doing this for a better cause. I yelled in frustration. The Excaliburs, they're over there, he said, pointing to the corner of the room where there were 4 floating Excaliburs floating in a circle. I let the man go, but I summoned a small light spear and tacked it onto his shirt, so he couldn't leave the area. Gabriel came in the room after taking out some other people from the other room. She saw me walking towards 4 swords and she decided to look at them as well. So these are the Excaliburs? She asked. Yes, but these are only 4 out of 7. The other 3 are still left to be found. What are the 4 that are here and the 3 that's missing? She asked. As far as I could tell, the 4 here are Excalibur's Destruction, Mimic, Rapidly, and Nightmare. The ones missing are Transparency, Blessing, and the one that's Mosser Powerful and hard to use, Ruler. Oh, so what are you going to do with all these? I'm only taking 1 and I'm going to hide the rest. But when we travel back to our time, they'll probably be already found, I said as I picked up Excalibur Mimic and waved my hand over the other 3. They had reacted to my spell, so they took forms of light energy and flew through the roof, scattering throughout Japan. I switched Mimic into a form of a katana, having a gut feeling that Ireina will like the form of this. I grabbed Gabriel and we started to walk outside, leaving the broken facility to rot in the snowing area. We were about to leave when we suddenly heard a crash from the snow nearby. We walked over to where it was and we saw a blonde kid, coughing out blood, as if he was going to die. Wait a second, I recognize this kid. Is this Kiba? I was shocked at the current condition he was in. I didn't know he was a part of this awful project, as well as me not knowing he had such a hard life. The look on my face said it all. Ian, do you know who this is? Gabriel asked. Yeah, he's resurfacing's servant, Yuto Kiba. I answered. Should we help him out? I want to. I really do, but that girl changed his life, he gave him a new life, and he seems to be quite happy about it. I said while giving a smile. A red flash appeared out of nowhere and with my reflexes, I tackled Gabriel onto the nearby bush, hiding our presence. I caught myself and both of my hands were on the side of her shoulders, as she was strawberry red. "Issei-kun," she exclaimed. "Shoo." I said as I put my finger over her lips. I helped her up and we were spying on the red-haired girl and the blonde-haired boy. Do you want to live? The red-haired asked. The boy faintly replied with a yes, as he tried to hold on to his last breath of life. Then, come live for me, my adorable servant, she replied as she lifted up her hand and started to say words of reincarnation. The boy had taken the evil piece of a night and with a red flash, both of them were gone. Issei-kun, how did you know that he gets reincarnated at this time? She asked. I had a hunch, I said as I gave her a wink. I held her hand and with our own flash, we were back in our time. We came back in heaven at the same time we had left. The effects of going back in time is so great that it doesn't affect the real world. You could take as long as you want to in the past, but nobody would notice. Gabriel stuck her landing and I face-planted. But by the flute this time. Oh, welcome back you two. How was it? Michael asked as he helped me up. It was good, I managed to say. As for the second time today, the time travel thing hit me hard again, and I blacked out. I opened my eyes and I saw a beautiful girl watching over me. It was Gabriel. I stood up and looked around me and all the lights were turned off except the one around me. I looked to my left and saw Michael, sleeping on a chair. What happened? I asked as I rubbed the back of my head, since I had a slight headache. You passed out again, but this time I wasn't quite worried. You said you would never die, she said as she stroked my cheeks. I started to blush and I started to lean towards Gabriel, aiming for her lips. We were an inch away, when suddenly Michael woke up and greeted me. Issei-sama. You're all right, he exclaimed. I backed away, with a great red blush on my face. Why yeah, sorry, that happens because of my current condition in power. I simply replied. Anyways, let's do this. Let's revive Ireina. Michael said as he stood up from his chair. I got up from Gabriel's lap and gave her a look that said, I'm sorry. Michael and I got in between Ireina and started the reincarnation chant. As this soul walk along the line we call life and death, each life and death can be renewed matters not for its life but its worth and value. I hereby ask you to stand up and serve me, your Lord and your God, your Savior. Her body started to float in between us once again, and negative energy left her body and a new, pure soul flew into her body. Michael looked at me and asked, Issei-sama, throw in the Excalibur now. With his command, I took out Excalibur mimic and threw it onto her body. The Excalibur took its shape of a katana and faded within her body, and with that, it was over. Her body lifted down slowly and I walked over towards Ireina. I checked for her pulse and there was a beat. She's alive. She's alive, she just has to stay in the infirmary for now. I said, all right, I'll call up our healers and tell her to put her back into her healthy shape. Thanks Michael, I owe you, I said as I made a magic circle preparing to transport away. Before I left, a voice has called out to me, so I had stopped my teleportation. Issei-sama. It was Michael. By the way, I made some arrangements, and Gabriel is now staying with you, he had said with a smirk. Huh, we both replied. This is going to be a long night. Is it just me, or is it kind of awkward when there's a beautiful girl sleeping in your house? Yeah, I'm in a situation like that right now. Gabriel is sleeping right next to me, or actually, she's on my bed, and I'm sleeping on the floor. It's the least I could do. I don't want her to sleep on the ground. It's not gentlemanlike. It's the middle of the night and I can't sleep. One of the reasons why is because of the vision I had last night. The thought of that creature gives me goosebumps. The other reason why is Gabriel. She just turned around in her sleep and is now facing me. I just can't help to notice how beautiful she is, even when she's sleeping. Well, that's weird. She's one of my seraphs. What am I saying? Mentally slapping myself, I tried to shut my eyes, but it was no use. I'm still wide awake. Thank me that it's Friday tomorrow. I glanced at the clock. 3:30 a.m. I haven't slept till 12, and I'm getting really tired. Stupid Michael, making an arrangement, making Gabriel stay at my house. It's bad enough I have a lot to think about, but adding a pretty girl as well? That's suicide. I ramble on my thought for about a few minutes or so, until the cold put me to sleep. Thinking about Gabriel was the last thing I was hoping to remember. Time skipped to morning. The sounds of birds chirping rang through my ears as I realized that it was morning. I couldn't really remember much about last night, other than having some strange, yet deep thoughts. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes, and once I finished, I couldn't believe what I saw. Gabriel is now sleeping on top of me. She has her face buried in my chest, and her arms are snaked around my neck. What just happened? I didn't do anything. At least, I'm pretty sure I didn't. Getting rid of that thought, she opened her eyes and she started to blush. "Good morning, Gabriel," I greeted with a smile, trying to ignore my current position right now. "Gee, good morning," she said softly while trying to look away. Gabriel, just a thought, but why are you sleeping on top of me?" I asked, trying to hold back a laugh. She let go of my neck and waved her hands defensively. "I didn't intend to," she explained. "I guess I fell off when I slept and landed on you. Then I hugged you because I thought you were my pillow." "Oh, is that it?" I asked teasingly with a smirk on my face. "Weiss," she exclaimed with a blush on her face. I started to laugh. "I'm just kidding." I got up and offered her a hand. It was Friday, so we still had school. We stood up from our current positions and headed to our separate showers. I have one room, but the house has 2 bathrooms. Don't know why. As we finished taking a shower, we got into our uniforms and headed towards Kuoh Academy. Gabriel clung onto my arm as we walked inside school, and this caused everyone to glare at me with daggers. I was shocked by her sudden actions. "Gabriel? What are you doing?" I whispered. "Isn't it obvious?" "I'm holding on to you," she replied with a cute voice, as she let her head rest on my shoulder as we reached towards the door. Once we were inside, I swear, everybody wanted to kill me, including the girls. With Gabriel clung onto my arms and her head resting on my shoulders, the guys stared at me with killing intent, and vice versa to girls with Gabriel. All I could so was walk to homeroom, while giving off an awkward smile. We reached homeroom, and I took my seat to the back, getting the same attention I had gotten when I was downstairs. Death glares. The sensei walked into the classroom and motioned everyone to take their seats. "Okay guys," she started. "I know that we had just gotten 2 new students," she said while looking at me and Gabriel, "but we have another new student. Come introduce yourself." She motioned her hand towards the door. A brunette girl with ponytails and a very slim figure had appared through the door. She bowed her head and said, "My name's Ireina," she stated while smiling. "I hope to have a good year with everyone. Cheers." The guys were going crazy as there was a new cute student, other than Gabriel, Rias, Aquino, and Sona, that they could try and talk to. Ireina was looking around, hoping to find someone, until she laid her eyes on me. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? She got on her toes and sprinted on me, tackling me to the floor into a hug. "Issei-kun, I missed you so much," she exclaimed. "Huh?" All the guys and girls yelled in shock. Gabriel stood at her desk, dumbfounded on what had just happened. It's good to see you too, Ireina. How are you doing?" I managed to ask as I got off from her hurtful hug and stood up wearily. "I'm doing pretty good," she smiled. "Okay, everyone calm down and go back to your seats," the sensei directed. I sat down on my seat and started drifting away in my thoughts as the lesson began. Before I even knew it, it was lunchtime. I was headed out downstairs to the cafeteria when my plans suddenly changed. My fan club started to run towards me with hatred and love, and I found myself running as fast as I ever ran before without Godspeed. I ran outside the school, and without even knowing it, I ended up resting on a big tree, just underneath the old schoolhouse. If my memory serves me correctly, this is the clubhouse for the Occult Research Club. I found out I was right when the window on the very top of the house suddenly opened, as long streaks of crimson hair flew outside the window, going along with the cool breeze. It was Rias. I spotted her from underneath the tree, and just admired her. I could see why she's one of the most beautiful one-isans in the school, alongside with Aquino. She looks down at me and gave me a small smile before she went back inside. "Sona, something's been bothering me since we had that fallen angel attack," Rias said, as she watched her best friend sip some tea that was prepared by Aquino. "And what would that be, Rias?" she asked. "When you and Issei were talking about something, about you knowing who he really is." "Who is he?" She put down her tea and fixed her glasses. I guess we'll find out soon, she stated as she went back to her tea. After all. Rias mused. He is just an angel between our eyes. What was that all about? I thought about the sudden smile given to me by Rias as I walked back into class. Issei Kuoh. Two angry voices had caught my attention before reaching my class. I turned around to look, and to my surprise, it was Gabriel and Ireina. Where were you? Gabriel asked. Oh, I got attacked by my fan club so. I ran away, Issei. I awkwardly laughed as I scratched my head. Mao. Next time, come eat with us, okay? Ireina stated. Sure, I'm sorry guys, I said sorrily. The three of us walked back into class, and before I even sat down, a pencil flew right beside my head, whizzing past my ears and stuck on the wall, but my reflexes served me right and I managed to dodge it. Looking at the pencil on the wall, a group of students suddenly started to rant about me. Womanizer. One yelled. Go to hell, Issei. Another one stated. Why does he go for Ireina and Gabriel? Look at me, Issei. A girl stated, I guess she's from my fan club. Again, in this current situation, I only found myself to laugh awkwardly and avoid all the things they were throwing at me. It's not my fault I look like this. The sensei walked back into the room, and with that, the lesson started again. In a matter of hours, the day was finally over, and I was headed home. I packed up all of my stuff, and waited for Gabriel and Ireina to come out. This might have been a bad idea, as they started, once again, to call me a womanizer. Once Gabriel and Ireina were finished, we started to walk home. By the way, Ireina, where are you sleeping? I asked, trying to start a conversation. Michael had found me a place to stay that happens to be run by angels. He said I would be safe there, she replied. I stopped walking and I looked at the ground. Is there something wrong, Issei Kuoh? No, it's just that, Ireina, I started. How do you know you're an angel? I asked, still trying to grasp what she had just said. Oh, that? Michael had told me all about it. He told me not to freak out that I was once dead, and now, serving under God, who happens to be you. Oh, muse. I didn't think Michael would explain everything to her. We had a conversation saying that we should just let her live out her life, and maybe later on, tell her what she turned into. Yup, it was a lot of information to take in at first, but he told me everything I needed to know, and once I calmed down and took everything in, it didn't matter to me anymore. I've been serving churches my whole life, and she started to drift off as she turned into a shade of red. Serve her someone like you. It didn't take me a whole lot of time to make my decision, she stated. Now this time I'm the one blushing. So you better take care of me, she said happily, as if what she just said didn't matter. She got a grasp of my left arm, and she started to hold on to it. Gabriel, on the other hand, looked at her with jealousy, as she was walking just to my side. Her mood changed in an instant, as she had just remembered something. Issei Kuoh, she said happily, you promised to take me out since you didn't have time last time. Yes, I did, I replied. Want to go this Saturday? I asked. Really? Yeah, why not? I have nothing to do anyways. She turned red and replied with a simple okay. Ireina now was the one jealous. Take me out too. No. He's spending the day with me. Gabriel exclaimed as she held my right arm. They were both tugging onto my arms, and I felt like they were going to rip off. Why you two? I said shakily as my arms were getting weak from all the tugging. How about I take you both tomorrow? I pleaded. Both dissatisfied with my proposition, they stopped tugging, looked at each other and pouted. Fine, I guess I wouldn't mind. Ireina pouted. I guess it can't be helped. Gabriel said, but you have to promise to take me out next week, just you and me, she proposed. Of course, I said with a smile, I wouldn't mind, just the two of us. Gabriel blushed. Sensing this moment, Ireina brushed it off. Well, this is me. I'll see you tomorrow, she yelled as she was headed towards the gates. Meet us by the big clock at the Central Park. I said as me and Gabriel were headed home. So, you wouldn't mind just the two of us, huh? Gabriel asked shyly as she held onto my arms, her head resting on my shoulders, both of us walking home. Seems like a good Friday. I've been thinking a lot about this lately, but what's gotten into Gabriel and Ireina lately? They weren't like that when I had first met them before. Gabriel was a fierce girl, especially when we were into battle, and Ireina, well, she hasn't shown much change, but she did change quite a bit. Now back to Gabriel. I didn't know she had a cute side? It's quite strange actually. There's times where she's taut on the outside, but really compassionate on the inside but doesn't really show it. I know there was a term for those kind of people and it's on the tip of my tongue. But it's tsundere. Gabriel's a tsundere. That makes perfect sense. Tough on the outside, compassionate on the inside. Mental note to self, tease her about this on our date tomorrow. Wait. This isn't a date, is it? Well, Ireina's there but still. Is it? This is one of those moments where I really feel like I'm dense. As I was thinking about this, I glanced at the big clock I'm currently standing behind. 12:15. Sigh, it probably wasn't a good idea getting here at 11:30, not knowing that they would be late, but hey, girls gotta do what they gotta do, right? Get ready and stuff? Laughing awkwardly in my head, I heard clacks coming up from behind me. It sounds like tus. Before I could respond, my eyes suddenly went dark as a pair of hands covered my eyes. Guess who? Knowing it was Gabriel, I decided to tease her a bit. Ireina? I muttered, trying so hard not to snicker. She playfully slapped my right arm as she let go of her hands that were covering my eyes. Baka, she stated. Once she let go of my eyes, I turned around to take a look at her. My heart was beating 10 times faster than it was before. I'm looking at an angel right now. Metaphorically speaking. It was Gabriel. She was wearing a white, frilled dress that went about to her knees. Not too short and not too long. She was wearing a golden necklace and a matching golden bracelet. Her golden locks were tied into a small ponytail with a bow, but not too much, as the base of her hair was still there, and her bangs were still on check. She was wearing brown sandals that looked like she picked them up from a fashion store. In simple words, she looked absolutely stunning. I guess I was staring too long, as she twirled a little bit and gave off a slight blush. Do I look weird? She asked shyly. Recovering from my trance, I managed to grab a hold of my words and replied in one simple word. Be beautiful. I stuttered. Her eyes were shocked for a bit, but they calmed down right away, as she gave of a slight blush. Really? She managed to get a grasp of my left arm and interlocked it with hers, now fully blushing. Why yeah? I stuttered. Stupid Issei. Why can't you say something more thoughtful? Before I could mentally beat up myself, another voice came up from behind us. The voice said faintly. I turned around and looked, and once again, I found my heart beating 10 times faster. It was Ireina. She was wearing almost the same thing as Gabriel, but it's not a dress. It's a shirt and a skirt, and it's not frilled nor white. She was wearing a crimson red shirt and a black skirt, with white shoes. She had her usual twin ponytails, but something else about just made her look gorgeous. What do you think? She asked, doing the same thing as Gabriel, twirling around, flashing her whole outfit to me. I gave off a slight blush. Wow. I had said once again, feeling so useless with these comments I keep giving off. I shook my head, getting rid of Ireina's trace. Anyways, I started. Where do you guys want to go? I asked while I started up a walking pace. Anywhere is fine as long as you're with me. Gabriel pointed out. Yeah. Let us anywhere I see Kuoh. Ireina added. Not knowing where to go, I decided to walk over to a cafe. It was past 12, and I didn't have much to eat for breakfast. As I was walking, I noticed my eyesight started getting a little blurry. And I felt a somewhat nostalgic feeling. My steps were starting to waver off, but I tried as hard as I could to walk straight, not wanting Ireina and Gabriel to worry. What is this feeling? I feel dizzy, yet warm on the inside. I started to look around and noticed something that made my heart almost drop. She had black Archangel hair, probably past her shoulders. They were put in double ponytails, just like the day I had met her. But the thing that caught me more was her slim figure and her magenta-colored eyes. She was walking down the street when she had managed to take a glance at me. It was for a mere second, but she gave off a smile. A smile that I've been wanting to see for so long. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was gasping heavily, and this had caused Ireina and Gabriel to stop in their tracks. Issei-kun? Are you okay? Gabriel asked, taking a notice of my deep gasping. Why yeah. I managed to catch my breath and let out a heavy blow. I don't know what just happened. Are you sure you still want to go? Ireina asked with concern in her eyes. You don't look very well. No worries, I'll be fine, I said as I gave her a reassuring smile. Not wanting to argue, the two just nodded as we picked back up on our walking pace. In a matter of minutes, we were finally there. I pulled out the chair for both Ireina and Gabriel and sat on the opposite side of the table. Every guy that was in the cafe gave me a look of envy, and half of those guys were on dates. Sheesh. Hi, welcome to Bistro's. What could I get you? The waitress asked. I'll take a cup of tea, Gabriel stated. Same with me, Ireina added. Could I have a breakfast sandwich? I asked. Sure. I'll get your orders right away. When the waitress left, Ireina and Gabriel started talking about school and other girl-related things. As much as I was paying attention to their conversation, I started to zone off. I just couldn't help but to think what had just happened to me before we came here. Was that really her? Deep in my thoughts, I started to remember the things I've done before. Flashback. I was walking down the streets, on the paths near the underworld. It's been almost 4 months since the Great War has started. The current Lucifer, Rise of him, is planning something that could wipe out our existence, but I won't let that happen. Realizing more and more of my anger for devils, I stumbled upon a bench that was underneath a tree. It appears there seems to be a girl there. Sensing what she truly is, I called out my sword, and was in a cautious stance. I started to move forward, slower and slower, not wanting to cause her any realizations. As I started to get closer and closer, I became more and more cautious. Once I finally reached her, I took a grasp on my hilt, holding my sword in front of me, suggesting that if she had any thoughts to attack, it wouldn't work. The girl had her head down, and she was just staring at the ground. She then asked me a really vague question, as if she knew I was here before I was in front of her. Say, is this war necessary? She had asked. I was dumbfounded by this devil girl. I didn't know whether to respond or kill her. The war took a toll in my brain, and killing devils for the past few months are nothing to me. It's like a second instinct. I sensed what she was feeling, and it was the complete opposite of what the other devils have felt. She was depressed and intoxicated by what's been going on around her. I made my sword disappear, hoping that this girl wouldn't try and do anything, and I sat down beside her. I let out a loud sigh before I could answer. Honestly, I don't. There seems to be no point to this. Neither sides will stop unless they are satisfied with the results, I said as I dropped my head to the floor. She might have been looking down on the floor, but her eyes grew, as if hope had struck her. I know what you are, she started. Aren't you going to try to kill me? She ended with a little terror in her voice. I could, but... I trailed off. But? She lifted up her head, revealing how she looks like. I lifted my head as well, and when I did, a new feeling came over my body. A feeling of happiness, as if I looked at our current conditions in a new light. She looked absolutely gorgeous. But I could feel your heart. While others seek for vengeance, you seek for answers. She gasped. I know how you feel, and truth be told, I want what you want as well. I finished off, looking into her magenta eyes. Why you do? She asked as if it was too good to be true. Yes, I do. I smiled. She started getting tears in her eyes, and little by little, tears fell on her cheeks. I am glad I found someone who feels the same, she managed to say. I want this war to stop. I want to do so many other things in life. I want to explore the world and seek out on adventure. But when I'm trapped here, I feel like a prisoner. Every day since this war has started, we have been killing countless number of people, from innocent to killing children. I want it to stop. There's so many things we could do. This is my dream. I got up to her and gave her an embrace. She started crying more and more by the minute. I may have just met her, but I'm quite glad she let out what she had in her mind. She rested her head on my shoulders and let out a deep sigh after her tears went away. I'm glad. Muse. I'm glad someone feels the same way as I do. I couldn't help but to smile at her remark. Would you help me achieve my dream? And make it into a reality? Our reality? I blushed slightly at her remark. I smiled and nodded, and with utmost glee, she hugged me really tight. From that day on, me and her started to stop the war. I had told Michael that this war needs to be stopped, as we are endangering more and more people every time we pass by a city. He simply replied that we need to end the feud against devils and angels once and for all. I could have told him to stop, but that would have seemed like a one-sided argument. I want to help my people, but I want to help her achieve her dream. After all these times, I never asked her for her name and vice versa. Either way, there's something about her. Something that makes me want to see her more and more. After the talk with Michael, I went to the spot where we normally go to. Once I was there, I felt like something was off. Normally it was her that comes here first and waiting for me, but I'm here before her? Suddenly, as if it was irony, she came out of nowhere and stood a feet away from me. I was glad to see her, but when I took a second look on her face, she was terrified. Her emotions weren't how they normally were. I was about to ask what's wrong when suddenly she opened her lips and out came the words, "I'm sorry." I could hear the depression in her voice as if it was forced. At first, I didn't understand what she meant. I'm sorry? Sorry for what? Out of nowhere, 5 devils approached from the bush and surrounded me. We got him, one of the devils said. With that said, in a matter of seconds, their leader came out. Resurfacing Lucifer. I growled. It's been a while, Kami-sama. What did you do to her? I snarled at him, thinking if he did the slightest thing to her, I would go off. Oh, she was depressed at one point, but something changed. When she came back to headquarters, something about her seemed different, so I had one of my spies to follow her. And here we are. He smirked. I swear, if you do anything to her I will dash. Will what? He cut off. You're too forgiving. That's your problem. You wouldn't do a single little thing, even if it was for your life. You value your people more, and you think of us devils without a second thought. That's your problem. I shouted, my anger getting the best of me. If you wouldn't have wanted to destroy everything, we wouldn't have had this war in the first place. Look over there at her. She has hopes and dreams. She dash. Hopes and dreams are for idiots. Our realm has nothing to do with the real worlds. We aren't humans with hopes and dreams. We are better beings, he stated. He then looks at her and started playing with her hair. Dreams are for fools, he smirked. That was it. Something about that set something off inside me. I called out to my sword, and once I took a grasp of it, everything that happened after was a blur. I moved in God's speed, going onto the person in my left, slashing his body in half, rebounding off of his fallen body and nose dive towards the next one, stabbing him right in the heart. I took my sword out and swung it to the guy on his left, and with 2 remaining, I summoned light spears and pierced their bodies. I was now standing in the middle of everything. 5 dead devils, the current Mao, and her, still not knowing her name. Resurfacing's eyes were opened to the recent action that had just partook. He shook it off and went with his usual smirk. Oh, so you can kill. Guess I might have been wrong about you. But let's see how you react when someone close to you, he said as he pulled out his sword, a Longinus that could kill myself, and put it close to her neck, gets threatened by a sword that could kill you. For once in my life, I felt hopeless, but I didn't want to give up. I readied my sword, but before I could react, she spoke up. Issei, don't do it, I'm not worth it. Just hearing that made me let go of the grip on my sword and look at her with concern. No, I'm not going to give you up like this. I might not know your name, but I promised you a world where everything is peaceful. Just take my hand and come with me, I said, reaching out towards my hand. She simply nodded and started to cry, but there was a small smile that was placed on her face. No, meeting you was enough. I'm glad that someone had the same dream I did. When this war is over, look for me. My name is Dash. Sir. Issei Kuoh. I opened my eyes, and I was suddenly on the floor. What just happened? What happened? I asked, getting up off the ground. Why you passed out? Gabriel said with concern. Why yeah, don't scare us like that. Ireina added. Are you sure you're feeling okay, Issei-kun? We could do this again another time. I just don't want to worry about you fainting again, Gabriel shuddered. Still feeling fatigued, I managed to say that I was all right, leaving out the parts from what I just saw. Why did I faint anyways? Recall. I forgot about that. Recall is something that I have been born with. It makes me remember the things I've done in the past. But that scene just now. I haven't thought about that in years. Mainly the reason because I wanted to fulfill her dream, to make this world a peaceful place to live in, and with the peace treaty coming in, I think we're just about there. I shook my head and excused myself from the table. I was walking outside, trying to clear my head out of everything that I just recalled. I was passing down the street when I swore that I saw her again. She passed by me and her beautiful scent flew around my nostrils, reminiscing the times I've spent with her. I thought it was too good to be true, but when I turned around, she was gone. I think I'm going crazy about all the illusions I'm seeing. I rubbed my eyes and went back to the cafe. Are you feeling better, Issei-kun? Ireina asked worriedly. Yeah, I'm slightly doing better. Forgive me, I said while bowing. If you guys don't mind, do you still want to continue? I asked while smiling. They were both happy with my question when they both took their respective sides. To the left and right of my arms. Once we walked out, they started to drag me around, which was weird because I was suggesting that I should lead, but I just laughed it off and went along with it. In a matter of minutes, we went from store to store, as Ireina and Gabriel tried out different outfits. We were now sitting at a nearby bench in a park, eating our crepes. That was quite fun, Issei-kun, Ireina said smiling while eating her blueberry crepe. Yeah, it was, I chuckled. I'm glad you guys had fun. Thanks for today, Issei, Gabriel added. Looking at my watch, it was currently 6. Guess we had too much fun, I said as the three of us watched the sun go down. Yeah, maybe just a bit. Ireina said, well, I gotta go back home, I still haven't finished unpacking so. She finished her crepe and went for a kiss on my cheek. Gabriel was shocked by her sudden action. Ireina stood up and winked at me. Don't have too much fun, Kun, she stated as she started to walk away. Too much fun? What do you mean? I look over to Gabriel, and she was mad. She was pouting, but I couldn't take it seriously. She was too cute. She then slapped my arm, causing me to drop my crepe. Hey, you owe me for that one. I stated. Nope, I don't, it's your fault. What do you mean my fault? You kissed Ireina. What? No, that was her obviously, couldn't you tell? Nope, all you. We sounded like an old married couple, bickering about the smallest thing, when she suddenly scooted up right next to me and rested his shoulder on my head, as the horizons turned from a sunburst orange to a ashy black. See what I tell you. Complete sunder. Remembering the mental note I took upon myself this morning, I decided to tease her about it. You're so tsundere, Gabriel, I snickered. I am not, she defensively said as she took her head off my shoulders and poked her fingers together while pouting. You are too, I can't even read you sometimes, there's times where you're compassionate, but then when you're around me, you get all defensive. I explained. Well. She was completely silenced. Well, don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. I'll accept you for who you are. That's how you are anyways, though it wasn't like this before now, was it? She started to blush. She knew that I was correct. I scooted up right next to her and let her rest her head on my shoulder again. Only difference this time was that my hand had a mind of its own and started moving towards Gabriel's. Once I made contact with her hand, she jumped, so I retracted it back, but before I could, she got a grasp of it and interlocked it with hers. Why can't it be like this all the time? She quietly asked with a blush on her face. I'd like that as well, but as angels, we have a lot to worry about. We aren't exactly humans. We as angels were created to be guardians of heaven. That's something that can't be accomplished easily with the threats we are facing. What threats? Whoops, I didn't mean that to slip out. I forgot she doesn't know about that magical being I sealed, being released and may destroy the world. Nothing, I replied. It doesn't matter, I just want to stay like this for a while. I'm really happy right now, she stated. I blushed and looked at her. When I see her, everything fades away, as if I'd created a world only between me and her. She turned around, and was surprised that I was staring at her. Reading the mood, I started to lean in and tried to kiss her. She agreed with the mood, and went for it as well, as both of our lips were now within each other's. Gabriel's lips were quite soft, and it tasted like strawberries. Probably the crepe she had just ate. Once we were lacking oxygen, we started to pull away. She buried her face in my chest and I embraced her. We stayed like this for quite a while without saying a word when she decided to speak up and say something that made me think I was deaf, because I definitely didn't hear that right. "Isse, stay with me. Forever," she whispered in my chest. My eyes went wide after her sudden confession. I couldn't help but to smile and nod. With that, our date was finished. Next morning, walking to school with a beauty by your side is never an easy thing to do. Especially if it's somebody in the same grade as you, and she's vastly known throughout the whole school. There were papers getting thrown at me at each and every class in every subject. Normal, there would be something written inside it like, "Womanizer Hayada Issei. Go to hell Issei. Look at me please." The last one were usually thrown by girls. But I managed to pull it off and somehow get through the day. "Isse." I looked around me, and there was a beautiful smiling girl waiting for me, calling out my name. I've been waiting to see that smile of hers. I went towards Gabriel and we were now headed towards the ORC clubhouse. Sona had messaged me last night saying that she wants me to stop by the clubhouse, and she apparently told Rias that I would be stopping by. I didn't know what for, but I went anyways. Once we were close, I was greeted by Sona outside. "Ah, Sona Kaisha, how are you?" I asked. "I'm doing fine Issei," she replied. "So what did you need me here for?" "Well, I think that's a question for you to answer when we get upstairs." She opened the door for us and started going upstairs. Once we reached the big door, Sona Kaisha opened it and I couldn't believe my eyes. "I see. The see." It was a voice that I knew in my mind I was never going to forget. But her being here feels too surreal. That proved me quite wrong as I walk into the room and there she was. Double ponytails and magenta eyes, but this is new. How come she's wearing a magical girl costume? Has she picked up cosplay since the times we were separated? It has been quite a while since I've talked to her. Guess I'll find out soon enough. Trying to recover from my shocked state, I managed to get a hold on myself and sputtered out something that seemed appropriate for this situation. "Sarah? Wow, was that it?" I swore I said something much more to that. It's good to see you again," she managed to say. I could tell that she was getting a little bit emotional in this tiny reunion me and her are having. I felt a slight tug on the back of my shirt. I turned around and it was Gabriel, whom is currently looking at the floor, trying to avoid eye contact with me. She also seemed a bit sad. Catching my attention, I spoke up and said, "Hey, what's wrong?" I said as I tried to pick up her head and make her eyes meet mine. "And nothing," she murmured. "You know, when you say nothing like that, it usually means something is bothering you, so might as well come out and say it." I stated. She sighed. "How do you know Seraphal Leviathan? One of the current mouths of the underworld today." This question got me stuttering. As much as I want to say what happened between me and her, she might take it the wrong way, her being how she is. I know what you're thinking, but rest assured, it's not how it is. I only care about you, Gabriel. I smiled reassuringly. That seemed to have worked as a full blush covered her face. "But so sweet, Avikoan," Seraphal squealed. I turned around embarrassed, as I was now blushing as well. "So cough, what are you doing here, Sarah?" I asked. "Well, there have been skirmishes going outside the peace treaty. Although the treaty actually hasn't happened yet, it's come up to our attention that we have to stop this," she explained. I nod. "Yeah, I've heard some stuff about this from when we had our own skirmish at church. If I recall, one of the fallen angels had told me that they were only following orders and that their leader was someone that's closer to Governor Azazel's rank in terms of fallen angels." "Yes, so Sirzexjon has asked me to pass it on to you guys, Mostly because he seems something in you, she said, pointing to Saji. Emmy, he exclaimed. Yeah, she's right. There's something about him that seems unnatural. While he does host the sacred gear Vritra, there is something else hidden, something greater. Yes, only time will tell, she said. Well, anyways, I'll see you guys later. She made a pose with her fingers and teleported in her magic circle. So, I see, how do you know Seraphal? Rias asked. She's been quiet this whole time, but I glanced at her once and she seemed like she had something to say. Long story short, she's just an old friend. I replied with a wink. So anyways, we need to discuss quite a few things, Sona started. First of all, we need to find out where the source of this fallen angel attack is going to happen. I might have hunches, but I'm not quite sure. Secondly, the thing that worries me the most is the opponent we are facing. Wani-sama had told us that he is somewhere in ranks near Governor Azazel, and with Azazel being quite powerful, there is definitely a possibility he's too high of a caliber for us, she explained. Finally, we need to train you, Saji. You don't have much training done, and if you need to prepare for the worst, being able to fight is the least you could do. I understand, Kai-cho, but who will train me? Saji asked. If you don't mind, I picked up their conversation. I'll train you. I smiled confidently. What? Rias confusedly asked. I see, I don't think it's such a good idea because Saji has a slight disadvantage. What do you mean, Rias-senpai? Saji asked. Sona face-palmed herself. See, you do know he is an angel, right? Was? Saji exclaimed. I'm an angel. I smiled. But you'll kill me. I heard light spears hurt. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing, I won't kill you. Probably. I teased. Saji squealed. No. Saji, just do it, it's good for your training. Sona explained. Sai, if it is you asking Kai-cho, I can't do anything but agree. I'll take your offer, Hayadu, he replied. That left Sona blushing. I grinned. All right, it's best if we start now, so let's go. I said as I picked up Saji with one arm and slung him over me. Wait. Kai-cho, help, he screamed as me and him left the room. I do hope he survives. Sona said wearily. Oh, have a crush, do we, Sona? Rias teased. No. Sona blushed and waved her hands defensively. Intermission. So, I'm guessing you haven't had a lot of training yet. I said triumphantly as Saji was laying on the floor, trying to catch his breath. And no. Huff, Saji replied. I thought, Huff, you aren't trying to kill me. I said maybe. I chuckled. Besides, I only threw light spears, it wasn't a big deal. Are you out of your mind? You're an angel, that attack of yours almost killed me for fuck's sake, he screamed. I laughed. All right, sorry, how about you go in Balance Breaker and fight me with my sword? Balance Breaker? Oh, you don't know what that is? And here you were explaining to me what sacred gears were when we first met. I only knew that Vritra was my sacred gear, nothing more. He chuckled nervously. All right, well then, before we continue we might as well go over it. I said, sitting down on the floor. Sacred gears were made as a gift from God. They possess great power, and some could even kill gods when used correctly and wisely. While some sacred gears contain mythical creatures such as dragons and such, there are some that don't. So sacred gears were given to humans? Does that mean everyone has one? He asked. I laughed. No, that would be quite frightening. There are only a specific few who does, and with that, they could either side with the ones who do good, or the one that causes distraught. That's why the factions are forming a treaty, so they could maybe stop the terrible things that happen in our world. He nodded in understanding. So with that said, sacred gears have special abilities as well. Yours especially is quite special since there are about 7 pieces to your sacred gear, though you only have one, which is absorption line. I continued. It does? What does it do? He said, staring into his black and purple gauntlet. It basically drains the enemy's power and transfer it to yourself. Whoa, that's cool, he replied in amazement. But what's Balance Breaker? Balance Breaker is a forbidden move that is sealed within the sacred gear. It triggers usually by emotions and willpower of the user. It's short, It's the ultimate state of a sacred gear. I explained. So what does it do? Well, in terms of anything without any complications, it's quite powerful and can do a lot of things. Amuse. I look over to Saji, who seems like he was getting more and more confident by the minute I started talking about sacred gears. He slaps himself in the face with both of his hands and nodded enthusiastically, yes. All right, hi, let's go again. I smiled, all right, but with your newfound enthusiasm, let's turn things up a notch. I smirked as I created holy lightning from my hands. Saji gulped. This went on for quite a while until, whoa, how are you doing that? I said as I was imprisoned in a shadow cell. Saji's eyes were closed, but hearing what I just said, he started to slowly open them. I don't know, he replied. I summoned my holy sword and cut through the cell with ease. Not bad, quite surprised actually. That was a subspecies balance breaker ability from Malbolge Vritra promotion. It's not too soon till you obtain balance breaker. I hummed. We made quite the progress today, best if we call it for now, I said as I threw a water bottle to Saji, who was worn out from using too much energy. He nods as a thanks as I held up my hand, getting him to his feet. Suddenly, 3 familiar girls approached us. How are you, Saji? Son asked. I'm feeling fine, Kai-cho. Don't worry, he replied with a smile. How was it? Rias asked. I hope Isa didn't try to kill you. If he did, excuse him. Gabriel stated. You know I wouldn't, Gabriel, hey. I chuckled nervously, recalling quite a few times I almost accidentally pierced him with my holy spear or put him in a coma with my holy lightning. She just gave me her usual pout-why look. So cute. I can't take you seriously, Gabriel. There were a few close calls, but I could tell they were accidents, he stated. Now the 3 of them were glaring at me. I just stood and chuckled nervously as I scratched my cheek. With that said, he's made quite the progress. At the end of the day, his magic raised quite a bit, and he did do a subspecies ability that comes from his Malbolge Vritra promotion, which was quite surprising. I explained. Can you control it, Saji? Son asked. More or less, Saji chuckled nervously. Well, that's quite fine. You'll get it eventually, Sona reassured. As if irony had hit them hard, the room started to shake violently. What's going on? Rias asked, trying to hold onto a peg of the table. Their attack is too soon. We're still at school. Sona yelled. Sona, quickly go to the intercom and tell everyone to get out of the school. We can't let them see the supernatural, it would be quite troublesome. I'll go and rally up both your peerages, but considering the violent shaking, they might already know what's up. I stated. All right, let's meet outside the field, Rias said. With a simple nod, I went towards the school area and tried to rally up the students who were in a panic state, as the violent shook wasn't quite an earthquake. It was something of a greater force. Everyone. Single file line. No more school for today. Don't push the person in front of you, leave in an ordered fashion. I yelled out an order. The intercom went up and I heard Sona's voice. Students, this is not a drill. Please go home, as school is cancelled for today. After her message, it was a reluctant find that Kiba, Kaneko, Saji, Tsubaki, and the rest of Sona's peerage were here. Kiba was the first to spot me. Aiken, what's happening? He asked worriedly. We're under attack. From what I can tell, a rogue fallen angel, that's below the rank of Azazel, is attacking the school, I explained. All right guys, we have no time to waste, gather around. I motioned everyone to get into a group circle. Okay, Tsubaki, take Sona's peerage and make a defensive shield around the school except for Saji. Saji, you're coming with me along with Rias' peerage. We're headed to fight. As far as I can tell, this battle won't be that easy. I ordered. With nods coming from everyone, we all went to our respective role, and Rias' peerage, Saji, and I were running down the corridor, looking for 2 more people. People of my own. I went towards my classroom and saw Gabriel, who's shielding Ireina with a defensive barrier. Issei-kun, what's going on? Ireina cried out. No time to explain, both of you come with me, I said as I walked up towards them, ignoring the violent shaking quite well, and grabbed both of their arms, just in the nick of time, as the floor they were standing in got removed by the shaking. Wow. That's quite the timing, Gabriel said, looking at the hole where the floor used to be. Since everyone's in check, we could finally attack. Although I am God from the Bible, the current state I'm in, I have no doubt that I might have some trouble, but not too much. I still have a few cards up my sleeve. As soon as we rendezvous with Sona and Rias, we finally got to the field where the heart of the shaking originated from. How did we know that? One of Sona's hunches. She's quite good with those. It's really scary. Oh, you managed to find where I was? I applaud you, young devils, and oh? Are those angels I see? A mysterious voice emanates from the sky, as someone that seems to be sitting in a seat that was made for an opera house appeared. He had a devilish-looking face with pointy ears and locks that went to his neck. Now, should we get started? He smirked devilishly. He got into a battle stance, and 10 black wings appeared from his back. No way. He's that high of a rank? He lifted up his hand and summoned quite a large light spear. He chucked it down the middle of our group, but some of us stepped back before it hit the ground, avoiding impact. I summoned my holy sword, but before that, everybody started bombarding the fallen angel with their own attacks. Gabriel was about to go in, but before she did, I grabbed her arm. Gabriel, wait, I said. She looked at me confusingly, wondering what I called her over here for. What's wrong? She asked. I pulled out something from my sleeve, and it was a card. The card started to emit yellow and green glows. I looked around and everyone was indulged in their own battle. I want you to be my queen, I said as I fanned out the cards. You know what this is, right? She started to get teary-eyed. Are you sure? She said shakily. Yes, I'm quite sure, I said smiling. These cards aren't your average cards. These are brave saints. Just like your average evil pieces, but angelic version. Each card has a special ability, role, and suit. Though it is like evil pieces, they are still different. First difference is the pieces I have are only 5, but 4 of each. The roles are King, me, Queen, Gabriel, Jack, Joker, and Ace. Now what I mean by 4 of each is the suit of the card. There is Diamond, Clover, Hearts, and Spade. Each suit has its own ability, and it depends on what you specialize in. Since the ranking goes King, Queen, Joker, Jack, Ace, Gabriel is the second most powerful in the group. With 4 suits I'm giving her, her card transforms to an ultimate. An ultimate is when all 4 cards are combined, or given to one individual, take form of one card. A card that possesses quite a lot of power. From agility, to abilities, to damage and increased stamina, an ultimate is a card to be reckoned with. It's quite confusing at first, but in terms of short words, it's powerful. With the 4 cards hovering over my hand, I crushed them with my palm and it turned into one golden card, Ultimate Queen. I pushed it off my palm as it went into Gabriel's body. She's a seraph, so I'm pretty sure her body will handle the power well. Her body hunches over and floats in the air, yet everyone was indulged in the fight to notice what was going on. Well, we are at least a good 10 feet away. Her body fell down, and I ran towards her falling body. I caught her in time and I looked at her, and asked if she was all right. She rubbed her eyes and nodded. Putting her back on her feet, she summoned a light spear that was bigger than the one the fallen angel had made a while ago. She chucked it towards the field in hopes of hitting him, but he saw it just in time, only cutting off some feathers off his wings. What the f was that? He roared. He started to create more and more light spears and started to throw them one by one towards us. I grabbed my sword and went towards the one that was headed in our direction. I caught up to it and swung my sword vertically, causing the light energy to separate, blowing the surrounding. Who the hell are you? He barked. Depends. I could be anyone. I smirked. Everyone was in a bad state, and by my current declaration, and before I even knew it, I ran towards this fallen angel without a second thought. I feel my power exploding inside me, waiting to burst forth. He created an actual spear of light within his palm, and tried to strike my chest. I grasped my sword and parried him, causing an opening. Before he could react, I slashed his body vertically, causing him to bleed. F-. You'll pay for that, he roared. He was now charging towards me with his spear and tried to strike me. I was about to jump away when I felt a shock towards my left arm. I looked towards it and there was a small light spear that was pierced through it. My blood was now falling towards the floor, but I tried to ignore it, but it was useless. I couldn't lift up my hand and this caused me to fly 35 feet away because of his strike. I got back on my feet and went towards him God's speed, not allowing him to react, as once I met with him, I slashed him diagonally. He put his hand on his body, as he was bleed really bad. I thought that I had won, but as I stood up I soon fell back down. I grasped my stomach, but I felt a liquid near it. It was blood. I was bleeding as hard as he was. And in this weakened state, I feel so weak. The fallen angel was still standing, as he had a devilish smirk on his face. Give it up, angel boy. You can't stand up against me. I have as much power as Shemhazai, he boasted. I was getting said with this little fucker. I mustered up all my strength as I roared a cry, running towards him. I grasped my sword, and with my remaining power I tried to summon a light spear, but what surprised me the most was what happened next. I summoned one of my other swords, a legendary one at that. The original Excalibur. It was a golden sleek sword, with a diamond blue center. It's quite sharp and one of the materials in this sword is celestial bronze. It's an ingredient that helps slay mythical creatures more efficiently. I was surprised by my sword summon, but at the same time I only thought one thing. A portion of my power returned. The fallen angel saw this happening and his eyes widened. Ha! God from the Bible is dead. To think that you, an angel, can stop me. I ran faster and faster, ignoring my pain, ignoring the state I'm in, and without a second thought, I was up to his face. What happened next was a blur. I caught up to him and started to dual-wield my sword, slashing and hacking his body up to pieces. It was the most crucial thing I've done to a person. He then stood there, but after a few seconds, he fell to his knees, only mumbling the words, "How?" He then said something that caught everyone in surprise. "I'll be back. Never forget the name. Kokabeel," he coughed out before his body fell. Everyone looked at me with both frightened looks and worried looks. I looked at my stomach and my hands and smiled, murmuring the words, "Is it over?" before I fell backwards and passed out. I woke up in a black empty space. I stood up and looked around. Where am I? Oh wait, I think I'm in my subconscious, for this wasn't the first time this happened to me. Oh, guess I have a visitor. A voice emitted out of nowhere. I was caught off guard by the voice and I started to look around. I walked forward and saw a shady figure. "Who are you?" I asked. The figure stepped out of the shadow, and what came out was a Bishujo. She had purple hair with a bow tying to a ponytail. She had black eyes and a very slim figure, with a forgiving bust size. She had a wry smile and she was dressed in an armor-type dress. "Oh, forgot about me, Cammy? I'm the one whom you spent quite the time to seal away. I'm quite saddened that you had forgotten," she pouted. Wait a second. Did she say seal? Only one person came up to my mind with that keyword. Triexa? Triexa? I exclaimed loudly in my subconscious. This beautiful-looking girl before him happens to be the legendary creature that was said to be sealed in the Bible, the same creature that was said when unsealed would bring chaos and ruin to the earth. A million thoughts pop up in my mind, one of which, if I had to, would die right here, right now, stopping this unfathomable beast. But before I could do that though, Triexa seemed to be laughing really hard. What's going on? Oh, did you actually think I was Triexa? The said creature girl asked, wiping a tear away. Well in my mind, the first thing that pops up when the phrase, sealed away, comes up, I think about Triexa so. Yay. I explained, loosening up a little bit. She continued laughing, well, I'm not the Triexa, but I am her counterpart more or less. I'm sorry, but I'm so lost right now. You're who exactly? I asked, rubbing my temple in confusion. I am Triexa, yes, but I'm her other half. You see, when you sealed us away, I knew that I wouldn't be able to get out unless someone decrypts the magic that you've put in the seal itself, but knowing that could take a long time, I cloned myself. Currently there are two of me and each of us only have half of our power. Reuniting with her means that I gain my full powers back. The only thing is though, that this counterpart of myself is in split ends with my other half. While my other half wants to destroy the world, this half of me wants to live in it, see what it feels like to be a normal teenage girl and go to a normal school and maybe. She paused for a second and eyes Issei very thoroughly, get a boyfriend. She muttered, giving of a slight, noticeable blush. Wait, what? Are you telling me that the most powerful being, a being that is close to my caliber in terms of my prime powers, has a counterpart that wants to live out on Earth and have a boyfriend? As that kid that went to the dentist in that one viral video once said, is this real life? I couldn't help but just be shocked at the sudden statement that has been brought upon my ears, but me being the kind of person I am, I might as well help her out. Listen, Triexa, I have a full understanding that what you say is nothing but meaningful, but I have to ask, how are you seeing me right now? I asked as we were still having small talk in my subconscious. Oh, this? It's quite easy actually, but let me ask you, have you had any dreams about me before? She asked, holding back the seductiveness at the end of her sentence. I had no idea what she was talking about, but in a quick moment of realization, I remembered the dreams I had about Triexa almost eating me in my dream and that freaky voice that croaked out, remember. Judging by your face I guess you have, she said giggling. Well, that was me trying to communicate to you in a sense, but I've only done it successfully this time. Hope that clears up any confusion. So you were the one saying remember? I asked. Oh yeah, I was trying to freak you out. Sorry, she said as she stuck out her tongue. Anyways, I should send you back. It's almost been a week since you passed out and been sent here. Yeah, it has been a few wait. Did you say week? I exclaimed. Seems so, time moves fast around your subconscious, she explained. Oh God, Gabriel is going to kill me. I said as I started preparing for the worst. The counterpart of Triexa winked at me and with a wave of her hand, I was sent back to reality. I opened my eyes and the first thing I noticed was when I tried to rub the sleep out of my eyes, my right arm was immobile. Looking more closely, I'd managed to carve out a figure, sleeping next to me, grasping her hand in mine. She truly was beautiful. The second thing I noticed was that this wasn't the place I was last at, as I'm currently in my room. All of this must have a connection with the figure whom is currently sleeping peacefully on the side of my bed, for what seems to be her being patient with my selfishness and waiting for me to wake up. She is truly an amazing girl. I managed to wriggle out my hand from her grasp, and as if it was magic or the world's most perfect timing, when I got my hand free, she suddenly woke up. She let out a cute yawn and rubbed her eyes. Something must have caught her attention because the rubbing of her eyes were relentless, as if she saw a ghost or something. Finally realizing that this was not a dream, tears started to form around her ocean-deep blue eyes, and the sight of that made my heart ache. I've been so selfish lately, haven't I? I see. Am I dreaming or are you actually awake? She managed to say without sniffling too much. Gabriel, I'm so sorry. I was selfish and didn't think the situation through and I just went in recklessly and I have no excuse other than I'm sorry. I explained as I bowed my head in shame, preparing for the worst. Instead, what I got was something I didn't expect would happen. Jay, she replied while smiling and crying. She suddenly got up and tackle-embraced me as she covered her head in my chest. I love you. Don't leave me again. Please. She said faintly. Did I hear that right? I had to confirm. Did you say something, Gabriel? I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. She exclaimed over and over again until the following phrase sank in my heart. When we first were together, I was kind of hesitant in saying that, mainly because I didn't feel like I liked you enough, but remembering our first date, and you passing out for almost a week, I didn't realize I needed you in my life this much. These past few days, I've been aching for you to wake up, and with my sudden realization of my feelings, I wanted to tell them to you so badly. But thoughts ran over my head, and I thought, what if you didn't wake up? What if something had happened to you and lost your memories about me? About us? About everyone? The thought of losing you. I cried so much, but now that you're back, please, please, accept these feelings I hold for you because I truly mean it when I say, I love you, OP Issei. She announced as she grasped the back of my shirt harder, crying rivers. A lump in my throat has appeared. The sudden confession of Gabriel was quite a surprise, but I'm glad she feels the same. I brought up my hand and started to comfort her from behind. I'm glad you said that. I too have been wanting to say that to you, but the thought of you not accepting how I feel might have held me back a little, but hearing you say that puts me in a state of relief, I said while sighing in comfort. I love you, Gabriel. She brought her head out from my chest and started to lovingly gaze into my eyes. Her ocean-deep blue eyes. One look, and you might as well be drowning. I found the force of nature take its course as we were both an inch away from each other's faces, breathing each other's air. In a matter of seconds, we closed the gap between us, and a feeling of passion and fulfillment had found its way towards us. We were there for God knows how long, but I bit back a curse as the lack of air prevented us from going forward, but at that exact moment, I didn't give a damn. The woman I love, loves me back, and that's all I needed to hear. Letting out a yawn, I readjusted myself and snuggled with Gabriel. She brought her face towards my chest again, and in a matter of seconds, she was asleep. I couldn't help to notice that she was wearing a smile that was hidden in my chest, and gazing upon that, I couldn't help but to smile at her. I played with her locks until the drowsiness in my eyes finally caught up, and like Gabriel, in a matter of seconds, I too fell asleep, thinking what the next day would bring us. Somewhere in Excalibur, Japan? Thank you. Come again. Okay, both your shifts are over. Change and hurry on home, all right? And Mao, do you think you could lock up the restaurant, please? The manager of a McDonald's in Excalibur, Japan asked. You got it. Replied, said boy. Oh, Mao, you're so trusted by the manager. You take your job seriously, don't you? A hazel-haired girl asked her coworker. Not really, but I'm glad that Kisaki-chan trusts me though. Replied the onyx-haired coworker. Anyways, I've gotta hurry on home, I have some homework to do. Mao nodded. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow then, Chiho. The girl changed in a matter of minutes and soon left the restaurant, leaving the only person left, Mao. Mao decided to clean up a few tables and mop the floor before he closed up the restaurant. During his time mopping, a familiar ache in his hands started to appear. Again? This hurts so much. He started to grab onto the nearby counter, trying to maintain his balance. This was what he calls an episode, where his hand starts to hurt and started emitting a green glow. Unfamiliar with the current situation, he had finally decided that whenever that happens to him, he would just let it be and try not to let it get in the way, but this time, it felt worse. His arm started to burn up and his flesh started to turn red. Make it stop. He was taking deep breaths, and he tried to walk over to the sink and see if he put cold water, it would stop the pain that was caused in his arm, but to no avail, it kept as it was and started to sting even more. Mao started to take deeper breaths and started to clutch his arm. He closed his eyes, trying to ease away the pain until his episode was finally over. Few minutes later, his arm started to die down, as his skin cooled down, and his flesh was returning back to normal. Mao was sweating really hard, and when his episode had finished, he took a big gulp and decided that he should just lock up and head home, so that's what he did. It's been at least 2 weeks since his episode started. He was studying up on some history about devils and angels. A subject that was entitled Heavenly Dragons had appeared on the next page, and his arm started to glow a bright, fusion red, and the backside of his palm emitted a green glow. Unknown to the current situation, he decided to let it go, as the green glow started to fade away, and his flesh returning back to its regular color. He didn't think much of it first, but he had grown quite scared to the situation as every time it happens, something new takes place. From hurting to his flesh burning, it was truly scary for Mao to take on alone, but he didn't want to tell his best friend Alciel about it. Not just yet. Examining his arm, he could only think one thing. What's happening to me? Little did he know, someone was actually observing him from a nearby rooftop. Guess we found the security eye, haven't we, Albion? The figure asked no one in particular, but his arm started to emit a light blue glow at the end of his sentence. He's quite clueless, but no doubt about it, he is the one we are destined to fight, Valet? Winter Ball? I asked, hearing about a formal dance Kuoh Academy is hosting the week before we head into break, onto second semester. Yep, Kuoh Academy is hosting a dance this upcoming Friday before break. This is also the time where devils and angels forget about their race and act like normal teenagers, such as the weight of getting asked out by a certain guy, Serafal explained while giving me a wink. I gulped. We were currently in the ORC club room, discussing about this winter ball that was more or less a distraction, since the underworld, as well as heaven, have reported that the old malfaction was making their first move on us. Even though a dance wasn't the best distraction in the world, it allows us to buy just a bit of time to set up a few magic traps and contain the school on a much more stronger barrier. Also, the thought of a dance wasn't half bad, so Rias and Sona decided to make it a social event for the whole school. The only problem would be the student that would attend the ball. We guarantee their safety more or less. So, do you all have dates yet? Asked Serafal quite cheerily, causing everyone in the room to blush. "'Cause I know a certain someone that's dying for her crush to ask her out," she added, giving Sona a quick glance. This caused Sona to give off a new shade to red, one that's much more darker. "Oh, Anisama, what are you telling them?" Sona said shyly. "You tell me, Sona-chan," Serafal replied while winking to Sona. "They do have quite the relationship with each other." "Kaicho has a crush?" Saji exclaimed in a defeated manner. "He has a point though. Does Sona have a crush? She's so perplexed and so concentrated on her work. Wouldn't you like to know, Saji-chan?" Serafal teasingly replied, affecting both Saji and Sona. This caused Saji to fall down in defeat. A matter of seconds later, the bell rang, and everyone started to walk to their respective classrooms. I was walking with Kiba and Saji, and as for Gabriel, even though she has class with us, she was walking with Ireina, who also happened to have class with us. I left it alone because, well, they might be talking about the ball and whatnot. Some girly stuff. "Hiya, Kiba, help me find Sona's crush, and with our powers combined we will dash." "No," I cut him off. "Seriously, Saji, how dense are you?" Kiba just laughed. "Well, what about you two? Do you even have dates yet? Mr. Bishaunen over here, though, wouldn't have a problem getting one." "I don't know about Hayadu though," Saji said, a little irked off. "You say that like it's easy." Kiba awkwardly smiled. "And I do, by the way, Saji." With Kiba's looks, he could walk up to a girl, mention the word ball, wink, and in a matter of seconds, you're the only one without a date. I laughed. "That's not fair," he exclaimed. We laughed and eventually quieted down when we reached our homeroom. It was late at night, and I, Mausadu, cannot get any sleep. Not because the mat was uncomfortable, but because of the recent event that just happened. I brought myself up and looked around our small room. Alciel was pretty much out cold, sleeping like a baby. Should I tell him? What would he say though? But knowing that Alciel has a lot of knowledge, he might help me out. After thinking about it for a few minutes, I decided to tell Alciel about it in the morning. Feeling tired, I closed my eyes and tried to go back to sleep. I opened up my eyes, unable to sleep, but I'm not in my room? I was inside a dark space, and before I could think about it, the floor started to burst flames, and my body was drifting towards it. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the room. "You are currently possessing a power that is beyond your imagination. You are chosen by the gods to wield this sacred gear." This was the first time I had heard this voice. "You are this generation's Sekiryu. Come and hone your skills and fight for me, partner." I shot up from my mat and groaned. What did I just witness? A burst of unassurance was flowing throughout my body, but one thing was clear. I need to apply to Kuoh Academy. Issei, ask me to the winter ball. No, don't ask her, ask me. Issei, take my virginity. I love you. Were the things that was yelled at once I stepped in the room. I just awkwardly laughed and walked to my seat in the back. "Hayadu gets girls too?" Saji exclaimed at the girls yelling for me. "Well, he has his own fan club and all," Kiba pointed out. Once again, Saji was feeling defeated. It doesn't seem like he'll surpass his friends in both terms of power. And girls? Suddenly, a group of third-year girls walked into the room and they're approaching Kiba. "Kiba-kun, would you take me to the ball?" asked a blonde girl shyly. Being the nice guy Kiba is, he smiled and replied with a nod. After all, she was the first to have the guts to ask him, so he thought that was pretty interesting. Whoa, who was that, Kiba? Saji asked. Kyom Abe, third-year student, captain of the tennis team. Also, believe it or not, she's a beast tamer, he mused. Oh, we have beast tamers in this school? I asked. Believe it or not, this school, more or less, have more like us, the mysterious-looking group of people that seem to frighten students. People like Bucho, Akino-san, Kaneko, Sonakaishu and Tsubakifyukokeichu make up half the list. So, basically, the supernatural? Guess so, he replied. The teacher walked into the room, and our lesson had started. Time skip. Something wrong, Ise-kun? Kiba asked as I was curiously wandering my eyes around. Classes had ended, and the three of us were walking towards the ORC clubhouse. I haven't said anything yet, but a strong presence is within our midst. A power that seems almost nostalgic. I replied. I've been having this feeling ever since class had started. A feeling of nostalgia and awareness has caused me to be really cautious. Before I could think more about the matter, we had arrived at the front doors of the clubhouse. Everybody from this morning was in the club room as well. Looking around the room, Rias seemed to be bothered by something. Something wrong? She turned around and looked at me confusingly, as if she was expecting something. I didn't want to say anything, but there's someone here. It's been bothering me ever since I came to the room, she replied. You too? Same with me. Catching the attention of everyone else, they all seemed to have noticed that strange, powerful presence as well. It was like a footstep. It felt like it was getting closer and closer until it stopped. I was prepared for whatever was about to come towards us, and it feels like everybody else was too. The door opened, and a guy, not much older than we were, appeared. He had gray hair, pasty skin, and was wearing a cyan undershirt with a black coat. Something about this guy seemed too extraordinary. Catching the attention of everybody, he smirked and walked up. So this is the infamous Kuoh Academy, eh? Hosted by devils and contain angels. Seems interesting, the gray-haired teen pointed out. Who might you be? Sona asked, little bit ticked off. Oh, no one in particular, just someone from the hero faction. Hero faction? I asked in curiosity. He wasn't paying close attention to me, but when I spoke up, he suddenly took an interest in me. I sense great power in you. You're not like them. You seem strong, but your powers are suppressed? He stated. Anyways, that's all I needed to see. He turned around and started to walk away until the wall in front of this mysterious man had suddenly exploded. I look over to my left, and it was Akino with her sadistic smile, sparking thunder from her palm. Era, you barge in and just leave? That's quite rude, you know. She smiled, liking her fingers. A smile struck upon the mysterious man as he suddenly turned around, looking prepared to fight. Most interesting, he exclaimed. He readied himself, and in a matter of seconds, a white, scale plate armor appeared, surrounding his body, and a white helmet took place on his head. Balance break. Balance break. Nonetheless, it's a white scale plate. Could it be? Everybody was getting ready for a fight, but instead, I stepped up. Get back, everyone. From what I can tell or remember, this shouldn't be a sacred gear you should all be messing with. I explained, getting ready myself. I see. You just recovered, please don't do something stupid. Gabriel asked. I look over to her and gave her an assuring smile. Don't worry if I make it out alive, promise me one thing. Go to the winter ball with me. I winked before summoning my sword. I rushed over to the scale plate armor with Godspeed, but we were even in terms of speed, as he dodged my strike and flew out the roof. I made my wings appear, and soon enough, we were playing a game of chase in the sky. He tried to hit me down with a few projectiles, but I parried them with my katana. I created a light spear with my palm, and aimed for his back. Chucking it across the sky, I managed to hit him in the back, causing him to fall down. I landed on the ground and, wasting no time, I rushed him with Godspeed and struck him across the chest, but something I forgot struck me. Divide. Divine dividing, the user drains the opponent's attack and gives it to himself when touched. This power. It's great, he yelled out. He rushed towards me, full speed, and started on close combat. Dodging a few punches, some managed to caught me off guard. Divide. Divine dividing is also not helping my current situation, but this was nothing. I smirked and let out my palm, causing another sword to appear. I had managed to get this sword back during the fight with Gabriel, and this was probably the second time I'm using it ever since my power loss. A long, sleek, golden sword with a diamond blue middle frame appeared in my hand. His sword was none other than the original Excalibur. I dual-wielded my swords as I came, rushing in, slicing and striking relentlessly until his armor crashed. The blue gem that was in the middle of his armor popped out, cracked, and fell to the floor. He was coughing out blood, but he was smirking as if he wasn't done yet. Only if the Security would be as strong as you, I'll have such a fun time. That's it. It's confirmed. The sacred gear that was standing before me was none other than the Hakuryu. But something was still off about this guy. Mainly because he's partially human and he could wield a sacred gear. Before I could finish my thoughts, his armor reappeared, and he was back for a round 2. He flew in the air and made 2 large balls of energy with his palms, and he smacked the energy ball, causing it to destroy the surrounding. I couldn't help but notice the excess energy that was being released through his wings. He's trying to contain maximum power by removing the energy through his wings, huh? I created another light spear and aimed for his wings. The speed was too fast, and it caused his wings to explode. It didn't get rid of his ability of flight though, as he still had his booster pack in his back. He flew towards me and released an energy projectile which I managed to dodge with ease. Seeing an opening, I closed the gap between us, and used a sub-ability on Excalibur, Starburst Stream. With a barrage of strikes, his armor once again blew away. Coughing out more blood, he refused to give up. Give it up, you can't win, I declared. Most interesting. I guess he deserves to see. Juggernaut Drive. Juggernaut Drive? Is he insane? Does he know what an incomplete Juggernaut Drive will do? It's practically suicide. Oi Valley, it's not wise to do that here, his partner replied as he began to chant. I who is about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has taken the principles of supremacy from God. I envy the infinite, and I pursue the dream. He's halfway through the chant. I gotta do something. He started to glow, and I started to rush in, but before I could, another figure appeared, causing Valid to stop. He looked over to the other figure that appeared. Biko, what are you doing here? We need you back at HQ. Ooh. He looked over me and looked really surprised. Vale, were you trying to fight this guy? He asked. Yeah, why? No wonder why you lost. He mused. Anyways, we gotta hurry, nice meeting you. And with that, they were gone. Everybody from ORC suddenly appeared, along with everybody else. Issei, are you okay? Gabriel asked with concern. Yeah, I'm fine, like I told you I would, I chuckled. Guess I have to go with you to the ball, huh? Yeah, but not unless you don't want to, I joked. A feeling of lips came up against mine. You're not getting rid of me that easily, she winked. I see, who was that? Rias asked. You seemed like you analyzed him well. Valley, as his friend stated, the current user of the Hakuryu, also known as the Sacred Gear, Divine Dividing. As far as I can tell, there's 2 factions trying to take out the government of the underworld and ruin the treaty between the factions. I explained. Sona and Rias exchanged looks. How do you know so much about that? They asked. Crap. I read a lot about it. I awkwardly chuckled, trying to avoid the matter. Well, that's that. Let's go back to school, we have a lot to set up. So this is it, huh? Kuoh Academy. A black-haired teen mused, as he stood outside the entrance to Kuoh Academy. Why did I have the urge to go here? Guess we'll find out.